I always have to wait for 1 second for OBS to do its switches. Sup, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and I'm here with Asa. I'm here with Abzi, and I'm here with Mike Williams. Both of these guys have been on multiple times because we actually like them. It's a rare thing, you know. Usually we'll have a one-off guest, or they don't like us. I'm just joking, but I'm very happy to have these guys.
They don't like us.
It's most of the time.
Be real.
Yeah. Let's be real on that. But we wanted to have them on to talk about all things Xbox, PlayStation, PC. We're going to talk about VR. We're going to talk about Call of Duty, the events that are coming up, Game Pass, as well as, or sorry, not Game Pass, but Xbox's event, PlayStation's event. Find out what these guys have been playing, what they're excited for in this slightly dead time in gaming, because it is. Mike and I talked about this right before the starting. It definitely is a slow period, man. There's like those big games, and some indies here and there, but it's really sort of spread out until like Erdtree, I would say, is probably the next of the big ones, if there isn't anything I'm not really remembering. But I want to first start out with what they've been playing. Also, feel free to say where you are and what you do. We'll start with Asa first. Where can people find you? And then what can people find you playing?
Loads of places. First of all, thank you for inviting me back and pretending that you like me. That's awesome. I do love to be here. Yeah, I am on the Gaming Arcadia channel most of the time, which is a fairly new endeavor. So you may already know me from Game on Daily, which has gone away now. It's disappeared entirely. But I'm over on the Gaming Arcadia YouTube channel and also streaming on my own one. And what I've been playing is everything you'd expect a refined gentleman such as myself to be playing. Which is the original Final Fantasy VII from 1997. I've been playing Warcraft 3. I've been playing Arizona Sunshine 2, Hellblade 2, all kinds of things from all kinds of time periods.
What can I ask something? Real quick, the Game on Daily. What do you mean? So you guys stopped doing that podcast completely?
That's gone entirely. The website went a few months ago, and the podcast went 3 or 4 weeks ago. Was the last one.
And so you've switched to this Gaming Arcadia, where how is the hosting done? Is that you as the host? You and is still Gaz? How are you guys doing that? Because I haven't checked that out yet.
Yes, Gaz isn't involved in that one. There's quite a big overlap in terms of time, in that Gaming Arcadia has been running since probably the start of this year. I've got podcasts on Tuesday and Thursday on that one, and community streams at the weekend. So it's with Darge Knight, I think you know, Chris Grinnell, Gamsley, and Deadly Headley. We've got a whole range of things going on. It's a very non-toxic, kind of similar vibe to this channel in terms of the way that we discuss and engage with games and conversations.
Yeah, sometimes you need a place to sort of sit back and yak about games without having everything turn into a war. What are you playing other than Final Fantasy? Like, is there anything else? Well, you said WoW, right? You did say WoW.
No, not World of Warcraft.
Oh, I thought
Warcraft
you said
3.
Warcraft 3. Gotcha. What got you back into World of Warcraft or Warcraft 3? What got you to play that again?
I have no idea. I just every now and again I just jump back into that one. I used to play it when it was fresh and new. I played the multiplayer an awful lot, but never really touched the campaign. And I've had an on and off relationship with World of Warcraft for the last 100 years. But Warcraft 3 is the one that I really love in the Warcraft universe. I happened to jump back into where I'd got to in the campaign, which was like the big moment where you create the Lich King, and I was like, oh, this is so good. I'm having so much fun. I'm going to keep on coming back to this every now and again for the next 3 years, probably.
Right.
Dude, Lich King has the best story in all of Warcraft. The story of Arthas is just by far the peak of Warcraft. Everything after that or before that, I just don't care enough about.
I can't remember anything about it. How old is that game?
It's really good.
Like,
ooh,
decade and a half, 15 years?
Yeah.
15
Like 2005?
Just about seeing behind me there.
It's cool art.
For Warcraft 3, I think 2005, 2006.
It's probably
something
2005,
like
2006. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that is nuts how long.
Or even earlier. That's when WoW came out. Wait, is Warcraft 3 older? Oh my God. It might be like 2001. No way, right?
It's like 2001, 2002.
Really?
Jesus. It holds up, man.
I barely graduated at that point.
Right?
Not the remaster.
No, not the
remaster. Yeah.
No.
The art style, I guess, holds up.
We'll never. The remaster never happened. It's like the remasters of the Arkham games, where they somehow made them look worse for a little while.
I think that was the most disappointing game release for me, was the remaster of that game. No, I was extremely excited for it, dude.
I had to live through Cyberpunk and you. I would
Okay,
I would
but-
beg to differ that is the
Dude,
most-
I was like making assumptions like, oh my God, Warcraft 3 is coming back and everyone's gonna make new game modes and new, MOBA type thing is gonna arise and take over like a new trend or something that someone's gonna mod. And I was just I was too excited, man. I was too excited. I was like, oh, Footman Frenzy's coming back. Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
you, Mike? What have you been jumping into? What are you doing? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Automatic Zine. You can find me on Blue Sky at MH Williams. I have been playing World of Warcraft because they're doing Remix Pandaria event. So I've just been like, well,
What the
let's go
hell?
in and yeah, man. So the super fast leveling, really weird mechanics that I'm sure that they're
Mm.
trying out for some future expansion or something
right.
like that. So I was like, yeah, I'll jump in and, get some transmogs and other stuff. Um, Pretty sure I'm allowed to say. Yeah, I was playing Rivals for a while.
Mhm.
And that is great. It's just Overwatch, old Overwatch, original Overwatch. Can't hate on that. It's very well done. Looking forward to that. And then started Animal Well and
Nice.
Galacticare. So Animal Well, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. Nice indie Metroidvania, and then Galacticare is essentially like 2 point themed hospital game, but with like aliens and stuff. So
Cool.
because I'm on Three Moves Ahead, which is a strategy game podcast, so I dive into strategy, life sim, all that stuff, games on a regular basis.
Is that podcast also cover board games, or is it just video game stuff?
Just video games, although I know some of them do board games, and for a while there was a very strong vein of some game, pen and paper called Lancer or something like
Yeah,
that.
Lancer. Yeah, RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever want to,
within the Discord.
a board game nerd or D&D nerd, I'll come on. If you guys ever want to invite, because I would
Did
love
you
to
guys
talk
talk?
about board games.
Oh,
D&D.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if you guys talked about Age of Wonders and why it's the best 4X.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Age of Wonders 4 was pretty good. My favorite 4X from the list is probably Endless Legend, actually.
Really
Oh,
interesting.
interesting.
Once you get all the DLCs, it's just so much play variety. I really love it. We got Total War people. We got Super Sweaty. I forget what the current game is. It's like Workers and something, but it's like a super sweaty historical, like city builder and management thing. Some of the people are into Europe or Universalis. And they're
Yeah,
like real
yeah.
big
Or
history
Crusader
buffs.
Kings. Crusader Kings. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like I have a threshold. I'm like low 4X and like, real-time strategy and, stuff like that. And then once you get up to like Crusader Kings,
It's a
that's
little
when I
too.
start to top out. And then
Yeah.
Europa Universalis or Hearts of Iron, those are just grand strategy. Go away.
Yeah. No, I get that. I understand that you're a bad person. What about you, Abzy? What have you been doing?
Oh man, it's weird, man. I always, me, I've talked about how much I hate Destiny 2 and how much I think that game is garbage and all that stuff. But to reconnect with my dad, I started playing Destiny 2 and underneath there's a lot of things in Destiny 2 that I think like I hate about modern gaming, and that has to do with like the UI and the content delivery and the style of how you earn things. And it's like claim here, claim now, this day, today, battle pass this, and there's a lot of like paid stuff. But underneath all that bullshit, man, I found a very, very high fun factor for some reason. I am really kind of enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie, man. I did like a dungeon that was some fucking synthwave 80s retro cyberpunk type thing, and it was really, really cool. And the way they introduced the mechanics, the boss mechanics, was really cool. So they have you like start off in like a hallway, and it's like, okay, if you kill a dude in the light, he drops these light orbs that you can deposit in this light thing. And if you kill people while you're in the shadow, you can deposit in the shadow thing. And it's just like this easy concept, and then it gets repeated in very interesting ways differently throughout like some of the levels and some of the boss fights and stuff. And I found that really, really cool. So I've been playing that, and I started my Elden Ring character for the DLC.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, you guys doing, Mike or Asa, any Elden Ring DLC plans?
Not yet, not yet. I definitely will get to it, but Elden Ring is such a big game that I didn't finish the first time. I got about maybe 30, 40 hours into it. I got a build that I liked the look of. I grinded and grinded and grinded and got my character to be where I wanted him to be, and then went, don't know what to do with him next, and I just kind of fell off of it and stopped playing. So
that's fair. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump into it. I'm probably not going to be like the day of just because of work and other stuff, but yeah. I'm looking forward to it. FromSoft game, baby.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Nothing's pulling me towards it yet. If it was last year, we talk about this on the podcast a lot. If this was last year, if it had this time last year, I would have been far more interested in it. I think that just an extra year and other titles have filled in gaps I need to play or want to enjoy. And that brings me to what I've been playing, which in no way, shape, or form did I want to play, which was Destiny 2. But I'm also playing Destiny 2 just to bone up on the complaints that I'm going to lodge when the new one comes out. I'm just joking. It's okay. It's so piecemeal in its delivery. I've played with a bunch. We're doing big groups in the Discord, and it's been one of those things where I jumped in yesterday and I had somebody who's done it a lot who was with me, and when the person who's done it a lot is even like, oh, let me try to remember, we're in deep shit. Like we're in deep waters if the people who play it all the time are still like, I think this one requires this, and I'm all, damn.
Oh, dude, yeah, same here. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. And so I've been playing that. I've been jumping in with people there. You know, the shooting is great, but here's the comparison that I think is fair. There's a lot of Anthem in Destiny, and what I mean by that is there's these short moments of fun interspersed with a complete scattered, like, loss of development focus everywhere else. And so when I jump in and play and I don't have to interact with a HUD that is horrendous, and I don't have to interact with the UI, but I'm just shooting straight ahead, that's some great shooting. But it is so short. We were doing strikes, some of the longer strikes, and it's so fast. And I was doing great. Like, I am actually pretty proud of having not played it for a while, doing very well. But I was sitting there playing going, okay, what's happening next? Oh, it's over. I'm like, what's over? The strike is over? Yeah, all right. And then I would try to go do a campaign, and the campaigns make no sense because they removed the idea of playing it as a campaign, and now you have to play in these interspersed things. I jumped into the game, and it randomly warped me to a map when I wasn't trying to go anywhere, and then I talked to somebody, and they're like, oh, by the way, that's normal now. You'll just be playing, and if the new thing releases, they'll be all, here's a cutscene, Merry Christmas. And it's so labyrinthian to try to get into. I cannot wait until 3, because I truly do believe there's no chance 3 will be as disastrous as this one when it comes to putting content together. I'm very excited to see, because I don't care if it's bad. I'll play the next game. I don't like, and this isn't bad, but let's say it was terrible, like a Cyberpunk day of release. It doesn't mean I wouldn't play number 2. So I've been enjoying it. I enjoy it more probably with friends and teasing it than I do as a game whole, and it'll hold me for a little bit. I think the Final Place stuff sounds good. I think their switches they're making for the new DLC sound like it'll be quite enjoyable. But I need a bunch of people to get hands on with it and sort of ask them. Weapon and you know, their weapon design is amazing, dude. Every weapon I get in that game, I'm like, I want to keep that. 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 And that's rare in games. What were you saying, Abzi?
I don't know if you had the same experience, but so the new player onboarding is complete ass. Okay,
it's not even onboarding.
It's not. There's
boarding,
no
waterboarding.
It's there. You get like stuff is literally everywhere.
Yeah.
And the issue is that there's no clear. Like there are subclasses to unlock, but there's no clear instruction on how to actually unlock it, because you do a mission in the timeline and it doesn't unlock, and you're like, okay, now what? And then you try to Google it, and for some reason it's super difficult to actually find an explanation on what you're supposed to do, because the game keeps changing from season to season. So you'd find like old posts, and it's so scattered. You really have to have someone there to sit you down and be like, okay, in this planet there's this campaign that you do to unlock this subclass, and in this planet you gotta, it's just extremely messy. And I feel like it interrupts the flow a lot, because they, even as you do more content, they hit you with like 10 more things per the content that you're doing, because there were seasons for that expansion and then seasons for another expansion. And yeah, it's very overwhelming, you know.
Yeah, I think Destiny 3 it has a chance, honestly. I think that hopefully they'll figure out how to not do a bunch of cocaine when they're making their game. I don't know. I'm just teasing, you know, obviously. It's probably crank. But whatever's going on there, I do think that they're going to look at Destiny 3 and really try to, you know, make it more cohesive. And I do want to thank people in the Discord, before I forget, Amudski, Bit, a couple other people who were playing who've, you know, listened to me request information on everything, because there is quite literally no information on some of the stuff I've been asking. I'll be like, how do you do that? Is there a guide or a tutorial? No, that was removed. And I'll be like, what? It was removed? The very thing that you need to know is removed? Yeah, they removed that. So that's what I've been playing. It's fun to hear so many people wanting to get back into it. I think that does indicate that the gameplay underneath is enjoyable, because there's people that aren't playing or haven't played it in a while who want to jump in. And that's good stuff. Everybody in chat, if you guys have been playing it, I'd like to know what you guys have been playing as well, even if it's not that. Frankie Donuts gifted five memberships. Thank you very much, Frankie. We appreciate it. I was asked a couple questions in here, and while everybody was talking, let me see here. Okay, I'm probably going to miss them. I'm sorry if you had a question for me. I apologize. Love the games. $2 super chat. In 2 weeks, I start a new job. Hell yeah, brothers. Is that the job you've been telling me about? Your new you're the boss job, by the way, Bug Guy? Tell me if that's you. Moving on from there, let's talk a little bit about state of play. So it is state of play, right? Is that what this one is? Yeah. So state of play is tomorrow, and I was pretty impressed by the numbers. What did they say? 15 new games? 15, I think.
Are these all their live service games that they've been...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just want to say I'm impressed by the number. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm impressed. I like to hear 15 in a 30-minute. I think they said it was 30 minutes. Do you guys have any guesses? Anybody want to go first? Mike, do you have any guesses, hopes, dreams?
I believe the scuttle around is we're going to get an Astrobot game, maybe.
Gotcha.
And for some reason, one of the weirder rumors, which... it's probably true because it seems stupid to me. Lego Horizon?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you would do that, but sure. Like, that's just that one is like so out there, as I would never, like, even if I was Lego and I'm like going to Sony, Horizon is not the game I'd start with, probably.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. Yeah, sure. Lego Horizon. Yeah, and maybe one of those live service games that'll die in like a week. Is Fair Games one of those?
I don't know.
Fair Games $sign or whatever. They have a couple out there. I feel bad for those studios. In the same way, like what was the EA one? Immortals of Avium. I'm just like, I feel bad for y'all.
Yeah, development is certainly not an easy game these days. What about you, Asa? Do you have any like hopes, dreams, aspirations for the PlayStation event?
I guess. I mean, they've said that they're going to be covering PlayStation 5 and PlayStation VR 2. So it's kind of nice that they're still like acknowledging that device exists in some capacity, which they kind of haven't been up to this point.
Right.
So I guess if they are going to show Astrobot, that has to be a VR game, or a lot of people, no, I say a lot of people, at least 20 people will be disappointed if that's not a VR game. At least 20 people. And I'll be one of them because it should be. I guess if I wanted to go for a slim shot in the dark, now that Ghost of Tsushima is out on PC, that sequel is ripe for being announced over the next 2 or 3 months.
That's a good point.
I think tomorrow's too soon, but in the next 2 or 3 months, I think we'll see that, hopefully.
That's a good point, though. Good time, because we've seen companies miss on the timing lately where you can see the ramp up and you're like, this would be a great time to talk about this thing that everybody and their mother knows is being worked on, and then it waits a little too long and you finally get word and it's like, we've sort of passed that point. So Ghost of Tsushima 2, that would be cool to, even if they, at the end, just a title that's just like acknowledge that people want to see it. What about you, Abzi? Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was saying they should probably, because like the Helldivers thing happened, and then it seemed like some of that PlayStation account backlash sort of transferred on to Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut.
Right.
And then it feels like they announced Assassin's Creed Shadows, and that just, like, they just rode the wave of that coming in. They were like, oh yeah, like, Ghost of Tsushima is on PC now. You can play that. So if I were them, I would do their trailer whenever Assassin's Creed Shadows shows off their gameplay. Just drift right behind Assassin's Creed the entire way.
Well, I mean, God of War, Ragnarok, Valhalla, and Valhalla Ragnarok from Ubisoft, right? Come on.
True.
Come on.
True.
Nobody in their right mind doesn't think that was on purpose. I mean, like that, like there you go. It totally makes sense to figure out a way to sort of use somebody else's SEO in your Google search engine to sort of get your game advanced with somebody else. What about you, Abzi? What do you think for tomorrow?
Bloodborne remaster, obviously.
It's good to have dreams.
That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. No, I was gonna actually say Ghost of Tsushima 2. There's a possibility, I think, of showing something there. And I don't know, is it too early to show a new God of War? Has it been?
Yes.
It's been like 2. Is it early?
Well, Ragnarok's was last year, right? The DLC, the free DLC.
Oh, was it only that? Oh, yeah.
I just feel like
it
it's probably too early to.
Yeah, and I think Santa Monica isn't working on a God of War. I think they've moved to a new IP.
They've moved on to a new IP. Yeah.
Oh.
So, and I think they're too early. If development-wise,
please don't let it be the boy.
Tsushima is probably the next in line, and then whatever Bend is working on.
And Bend has made it pretty clear they're not doing Days Gone 2, right? I mean, that entire IP and the way everything was handled, it sounds like that's sort of like I think I had heard that Bend was not working.
Yeah, so
I'd like to see Bend come back.
God of War is going to be a while for a new one if they.
I wonder what other games did Santa Monica make other than the God of War series? Did they
baseball?
Let's Google.
What?
Baseball? Seriously? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Let me look.
What about a new Twisted Metal? I'd like a new Twisted Metal. I don't know who made that, but
it's wild that there is a Twisted Metal TV show and they haven't even brought
and it was pretty good. I heard
back in a remaster. Like, I don't know if it was good, but it was good enough to get a second
one of the canned ones, isn't it?
Yeah. So
they were doing a Twisted Metal service game.
Yeah, true. Let me say, I'm looking up Sony Santa Monica. 2001 was Connectica for the PlayStation 2, and then it was God of War, God of War 2, God of War 3, God of War Ascension, God of War Reg.
Okay, wow. Okay.
Well, they're the God of War studio.
I thought they made Twisted Metal.
Here's the thing. I think if I were them, I'd want to work on something else too. Even if God of War saw ultimate success, it probably is one of those things where it's like it'd be nice to make some, once. But who knows? I mean, some of those people are gone. The company name's the same, but who knows how many people are all still there. Those people may absolutely love the idea of jumping in and
everyone gets a shot at Sony you can change the one game that you're making forever, once a decade.
Yeah.
So they were Sucker Punch was the infamous studio.
Yeah, true.
Now they are the Ghost of Tsushima studio. It is now
goes into Horizon.
Yeah.
Goes into Horizon. And Spider-Man.
And Insomniac went from Ratchet and Clank and a bunch of other stuff, and now they are the Marvel studio. So you get every decade you get a chance to try something new.
Maybe we see Wolverine. right?
Yeah, that
It's
feels about
possible,
right.
but the leaks that they've showed show that game is exactly where it's expected. That's very,
Mm.
very, very pre. So
Mm.
unless those leaks are old, which is possible too, I assume where it is, you wouldn't want to show much of it because it's being made. You know?
Mm.
I mean, it'd be really weird if I cooked a cake and I took a picture of it 1/4 done and said, "Fucking let's celebrate my cake. It's going to taste delicious." Most people would be like, "Dude, what the hell?"
Like
Get me
Cyberpunk.
when you're done, like Cyberpunk. Yeah, Cyberpunk is a 4th made cake.
Yeah, I
Now,
was about to
sounds
say a
fully
lot
made.
of those E3 demos are all right, or Game Fest demos are all right. We got 3 months.
Yep.
Give us a playable chunk. Let's make it as pretty as possible and shoot it out the door.
I'll always pimp this discussion, but Cliff Basinski did a discussion about how much it cost them to make vertical slices for E3, and the cost was so atrocious, so absolutely insane that only a company like Microsoft, Epic, Sony, those big top-tier companies would ever even think of spending that. And now that there's no E3, I think most of them are like, thank God. Because you're also taking developers who could be working on your friggin' game to make this stupid vertical slice that people are going to bitch about anyway when they see, let's be honest, we see a Call of Duty slice, we bitch about it. It's not. He moved the controller slightly to the right, but the game didn't seem to go to the right, so therefore the entire trailer's fake. And you're like, it's a bunch of Mythbuster kids out on YouTube complaining about the trailers. So, or you get Watch Dogs where it looks better in the trailer than it.
Yeah.
Hellblade's one of the few games, Hellblade 2, where the game looks a good deal better than the trailers, which was actually, I thought, fantastic.
The horror stories of like what with the Cyberpunk 2018 gameplay trailer and how they completely switched
2077.
directions. And
are you calling it 2018 as a joke? Because I think that's even funnier.
The trailer,
the gameplay trailer they showed in 2018.
Oh, dude, I thought you were calling it Cyberpunk 2018 because that's all we got, and I was like, dude, that's a masterful stroke right there. Okay, well, that's too bad, but still, very, very enjoyable. Yeah, that was not a real thing at all. That was some
previews.
Sometimes they don't look good. Like I remember, it was the E3 before first Spider-Man came out, and they showed off Ghost of Tsushima in like a gameplay theater demo, and it did not look good. It did not. I was like, I don't know if this one is coming together, guys. And it did. But like what they showed off was just like, no, this doesn't look good at all.
I want to say how much I appreciate Mike right there solidifying that it did. We all love the game, but I love the way you said that. It did. Like there was anybody wondering if it did. That was great. It did come together. Just anybody out there who thinks Ghost of Tsushima didn't come together. Mike Williams is stating on the ACG podcast. It did though. It did. That was awesome. That was on the record. That game came together. It did. Like that game's awesome. And I would say for my guesses, Astrobot, which I don't care about, but I'm really happy because a bunch of people do. So I super hope that they get those acknowledged. I think we'll see some service stuff because they haven't put all of them in hiatus. There has been some switching around, but we do know that they've got more stuff in the pipe for that. I'd love to see Wolverine. I don't think it's what we've seen. It looks ready. I would love to see the words Bloodborne 2 at the end of a Sony event. I think, I don't know about you guys, but there's certain things I think that all a company needs is to just put a title up. I don't like this, by the way. I'm not saying I do like it. I'm saying what works. You put a title like Bloodborne up, that creates an insane amount of hype from companies that obviously deliver, but they're also busy too. So I don't know who would be making that game either. I think that's one of the problems too, is that people like the titles of you'll hear us all talk about the titles of a game, but then you start looking at who's even available to develop some of these titles, and they're not there. They're not actually available to make the title. So some of this is dreams and hopes. I would like to see Twisted Metal. That would be cool. I think a Twisted Metal would be phenomenal to sort of see them mess around with something like that.
Twisted Metal feels like something built for a service game.
It absolutely does, yeah.
Like you give away
that. Yeah, I think it was fairly reliably reported that it was a thing that existed and was cancelled, and I think it was Bloomberg,
it was canceled.
A genuine outlet.
Yeah. Well, it was canceled at the time. See, the thing about cancellations, man, is I've definitely, especially as years go by, this cancellation thing doesn't always mean a foot in the sand. It sort of just means, or a line in the sand. It sort of just means like over here canceled, and then you hear it's going somewhere else, or they've rejiggered it and they're re-looking at how everything works. So I guess you can hold your hope that that cancellation doesn't mean like fully stopping Twisted Metal versus that particular package of Twisted Metal is not what we're going with. Maybe the service was why it was canceled, because, you know, we have heard rumors that some of the, you know, companies internally at Sony don't want to do these service games. But the thing is don't want to do, and then seeing Helldivers 2 success, sorry. Because at least the couple, not a ton, but the couple people I talked to would love to see Helldivers 2 success. Would love. Love it. Love it. Big time. And so whenever you hear like, no, they just want to make single player games that are, you know, you do this and do that, and then you talk to a developer and like, I'd like to have a job. I'd really like to be employed. Like, that would be the great thing, instead of releasing a game that possibly sells pretty good, but then we don't have DLC or it dies out, versus a service game that is fun, by the way, because some service games can be fun. Just everybody puts service into everything. Do you guys remember, man, when open world became a thing, it was so crazy that every game had its own thing, and then once open world started up, it was like every company did open world, and the same things happened with service games. Every company.
Yeah, it's just the differences. It's like you can only survive like one or two service games on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Like I play Fortnite every night. Like, I get my dailies in, and then maybe, you know, I'll switch between Final Fantasy 14 or WoW as my other game. But like, you only really get like two of those. Like, if you are a Warzone player, that is the game you play. And anything that's going to take you from that is going to have to be like the best.
When I was
especially once you get deep in and you've spent like $100 on skins, or however much it costs for Warzone skins now. Yeah, man, it's hard to get people to leave that stuff.
I think the first podcast you were on, by the way, Mike, because I was going back to listen to see if we should revisit any topics when you guys first came on, you and Asa. One of the first podcasts you were on, either the first or the second, we discussed, this is years ago, we discussed that like already MMOs and service games were encroaching on single player games, because somebody's like, I sort of want to do Destiny. There's this other game coming, but I only have 4 hours a week to play games. And I know this is good because I've been playing it. It's an enjoyable game. And that is now exploded to the point to where everybody, like, I think everybody agrees now. I know at the time I got a lot of heat. People were like, oh, no, it's, you know, people will switch. And it's like, I can tell you right now that people I talk to, they're not switching. They're like, no, I'm not going to switch. You know, whether there's bugs, there's a lot of put-offness happening in gaming. I'll get it later. I'll get it when it's patched. I'll get it when it's on sale. Ubisoft, for instance, I know people don't agree with their sales plans. I think it's genius, which is almost every game they do goes on sale quite quickly, because they make whatever sales they make, and then their sale. They make whatever sales they make, then they put it on sale. And I've seen people be like, oh, this game must have done poorly. It's on sale. I'm like, no, that's Ubisoft. They do something that is way different than everybody else. And now we see Microsoft does their thing, Sony does theirs, and there's sort of a market for everybody, but there isn't the time for everybody. There's just, we don't have, dude, this is my job, and I don't have the time to play all the games, let alone if I would, you know, if I didn't have to make a video on something. I couldn't even cover 4 games a week. That would be ridiculous. You wouldn't be able to cover it in depth. What were you saying, Amzi?
I was just saying, especially now that I think the average gamer age is around in their 30s, I think they're competing for time way more than competing for money, right? Yeah. Time is like the biggest factor here. Yeah.
And there is something about time where if you know your money's already invested somewhere. So, for example, I'm playing Division 1 with the Discord people. 1. And not 2. Even though I like 2, but we were playing 1 because a lot of people had it and they hadn't played it. And we're going back to that. And I have a bunch of time and money invested in that game. And instead of playing, you know, other newer games that maybe are good, but I'm just like, you know, I can get to those.
You're comfortable with it.
Yeah, you know? there's so much content to, you know, consume. It's ridiculous. Love the games. $2 super chat says, whoa. Wins the PS event and Xbox plus SGF. PS event is tomorrow. Xbox is the 7th or the 9th, guys?
9th.
And then SGF is Summer Games Fest is 7th.
Oh shit, it's summertime. Oh fuck, I forgot, man.
That's what happens when
It's
you have
time
no sun inside, right?
It's the time for game trailers.
You need an
man.
LED that goes across your top of your
Bro, I'm in
roof
Saudi
of
Arabia.
your
You know
room.
how hot it is? It's extremely.
Yeah, it's always
death.
hot though, right?
Yeah,
it's summer during
so-
winter, so like, what the hell? Yeah, like how
I mean,
you
we
can't
get
tell.
like 8 degrees in winter. I mean, Celsius, like 10 degrees.
What's that in freedom units?
That's like, you know,
Like 50
let me do
or
the-
something. Like
let me
I
do the
have a
math. Yeah,
feeling
like
it's still
50.
hot.
Yes,
Like whenever I talk,
50.
it's 50. Yeah.
50.
So whenever I talk to
Yeah.
somebody from Australia and they're doing Christmas in summer, I'm like, you freaks. So they're eating lobster for Christmas Day.
What the fuck?
It just depends on where you're from.
That's cool.
People
I
are
like
talking about
lobster.
games they've been playing. Some people playing Brotato, Vampire Survivors.
Mm-hmm.
None of them have. That's a wind up.
That's a wind up. Warframe, Ubisoft. Oh, these guys are just talking about Ubisoft and Nintendo. I don't know how this is. Nintendo keeps years old games at full prices. Oh, I get you. Yeah, they are different. Jay Reaper says $5 super chat. Let's go. What's up, Jay? Thanks for always being in chat and being your usual weirdo self. I love you. It's always fun talking to you. Zealandish Blizz, I think he's asking Mike, have you seen League has got a $500 FOMO skin?
Yes.
Really?
Ari skin, I believe it is
Ari?
the prices for everything, I think it's upwards of like 450
Oh.
or something like that.
Yeah. I mean,
Dollars?
Yeah,
450 actual dollars? I don't understand. How?
but like the most expensive skins are like $30, like alone.
Right, that's what I'm
It's a
saying.
literal whale skin,
Yeah.
right?
That
like
is
a
a whale
crazy skin
skin.
that
It should
changes.
be a whale
Yeah.
on their shield. If like you're playing a
Yeah.
D&D game and you buy the skin, it should be a whale eating a dollar sign or Scrooge McDuck diving into his gold. Like that's ridiculous. But I mean,
Yeah, it's insane.
if it's a pack of stuff, no, still ridiculous.
Now, you know what's the worst? And Destiny does this too. The worst, by far, the worst trend I hate is when there's like a skin and it's like 2,500 points, but you can either get 2,300 points or like 3,200 points. So you get the more expensive one, and then you got points left over. So you can, you know, you're like, oh, this skin just requires a little bit more, so you get even more points. And there's always going to be like points in your account that is there that is going to make you want to buy more, so you can buy more skins. I hate it.
Yeah, it's got different tiers, so I think you can buy the skin for the normal like $30 or whatever it is, but then it's got like a higher tier with other visual stuff, and I
Yeah.
believe it's tied to what's his name? Faker, one of the players. Like it's
Yeah.
like a collab skin with him. So
Wait, a real person?
yes.
Yeah, he's like the
like
best
a player.
Dude, we've
player
circled
in-
the just full non-committal. We
Korean
might
guy.
let's just please Putin nuke us. It's over.
Oh shit.
It's over. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So, but isn't there like a My Little Pony skin in Diablo that's like $60? It's like a horse skin in
Like a
Diablo.
rainbow thing.
Well, I don't know.
Probably.
I just said My Little Pony because it's a horse. But isn't there like a horse skin in Diablo 4 that
Multiple.
was angering people because it was like 60 or multiple?
Multiple. They do it regularly. Every time they do a new bundle, it's like you get a bunch of the currency as well as the horse or whatever mount.
Yeah, so
60, 70 quid.
$65, man. $65 for a pack to get this shiny horse.
So this is the signature immortalized legend collection. 59,260 RP, which is the like 300 some odd, 350
Holy.
something. Comes with the signature Ari skin, signature move, the final boss Faker title, signature border, signature banner, signature splash art, the immortalized legend collection, which is the collection below it, which has the lower tier skin, unique transformation, a chroma, 100 battle pass levels, exclusive icon, and
I just I,
Like,
I
there's
don't
don't
come
no
with a
there's no
carry from
statue
Faker.
or anything. Yeah.
I don't believe a person that would have the money to buy it would buy it. You know what I mean? Like it has to be some kind of, got my mom's credit card type of deal.
Oh
Right?
yeah, stole your mom's card.
I
What
don't
were you
know.
s-
I just I can't picture it, man.
Yeah. What were you saying, Asa? You said one about.
That should come with a carry, right? If this guy's so good, that should come with like 7 nights of being carried through League of Legends for 450 quid or something.
Just
Or like
instant
physical
wins. You
statue or
join,
some
and it's
shit.
like, sorry guys, this guy bought a micro for winning. Peace out. There was somebody who. So we don't read super chats in order. I read them to try to sort of fit into what we were talking about at the time we had moved on. But Gamsley, $2 super chat said, "I rate Helldivers 2 worse than Brotato." It's obviously some kind of thing toward Asa. People spend a lot of money just to tease you, dude. You're like the clown sitting on the dunk tank, and people just like to throw balls and try to knock you into the water. I don't know what it is about Brotato and you, but it feels like a long sordid history.
It's
Yeah, that's a good
Gamzee
game.
is the co-host on our Xbox podcast. I don't like Brotato. Nothing happens. You just run
I
around
know.
a little brown
I
square.
remember.
Yeah, and Gamzee loves it. So this is the little wind-up that goes on. But keep bringing me back, and he'll keep on throwing money at the
It's a fun
channel.
game.
I just do not get it, man. But whatever. I haven't even played Brotato, so I'll side with you.
Very good.
Asa, you're on the podcast, so I'll just be like,
Thank you.
You're for sure right. They're for sure wrong. Heard it here first. Brotato sucks as a game. Not even fun. There are people talking about Warframe skins too, but let's move to something good. Back to the PlayStation event. So you have a bunch of games being announced there. It's a 30-minute video. I say video because you can't squeeze even a CEO talking head in that amount of time. You have 17 games. That to me feels like, I mean,
It's like
2-minute trailer, 15
2
times
minute
2, you're already
trailers.
at 30 minutes. Yeah, so one of those
Yeah.
trailers is like 17 seconds long. Maybe it is Bloodborne.
the
too,
word
but-
Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah,
2 or
exactly.
Bloodborne,
Maybe it's just
right?
a word. But then we have Xbox event, and so I don't know what you guys have discussed about on your own personal podcast and stuff. What you guys have discussed, Mike and Asa. But one thing I do want to point out is, God of War, or not God of War. That would be amazing. God of War's on Game Pass. People, shit. No, but Call of Duty being on Game Pass. Were you guys surprised?
Yes, just because it makes
Yes.
so much money
Mm.
and Microsoft has spent so much, so it's sort of that
Where
like
you're recouping your
you
cash?
you put it on Game Pass, maybe you get a bunch of people, but I don't think so. Uh, and I guess maybe there's the hope, you get people pick it up on Game Pass, they jump over to Warzone, they spend some money on skins, and you'll recoup from that. But I feel like Call of Duty box sold so much each year
Right.
that you're not gonna get that same return by putting it on Game Pass, but we'll see. Or they'll raise the price of Game Pass and that's how they'll do it.
Well, Mike, they've been doing all those little things where they started saying you can no longer roll into multiple ultimates, and they were closing down all the little hacks people were doing to get the dollar for 2 years of Game Pass. So it does seem like they're at least closing down a lot of the extra, little like Netflix turning off password sharing. It does feel like they're trying to maximize it. I think they could raise the price because of that, not because of that game, but I think they could raise the price a little bit. But at some point, we're accustomed to it, and any raise of price feels they sort of dug their own grave on that.
Yeah.
Like if you're offering, it's the same difficulty we see with people saying games are $10 more expensive and freaking out, being like, how dare they? And you're just like, well, how dare they make games right now? Things are getting expensive. The competition's high. I don't know. What about you, Asa? Surprised?
I was not surprised, no, because when they did their little We're Going Multi-Platform podcast event, and they had Sarah Bond and Matt Booty both said within the space of like 5 minutes of each other that all of their games from all of their Activision, Blizzard King, Xbox, and Bethesda are all going onto Game Pass day and date. And these were executives reading it off of a teleprompter. So it wasn't like a slip
Yeah, it
of
was
the tongue
written.
or anything. It was very much a rehearsed, this is a thing that we're saying. And I'm not saying I trust everything that executives are saying to me. And it's all like, you can take them at face value in all things. But I did take that at face value that every game was coming. And that they would have had a difficult time walking it back after making that kind of pretty strong commitment a month prior if they didn't bring it on. I understand the reasons why you'd think they wouldn't, and the amount of money that floats around with Call of Duty and all the rest of it. And I'm sure they'll try and claw a whole lot of it back with like pay half the price for 3 days early access or whatever. But yeah, no, not surprised. Also, for me, not massively interested. I don't really play Call of Duty. This will be the first one that I've touched for a long time, and they are sticking it into my lap. So I will touch it. I'll give it a little go, a little play, and see how it goes from there. But yeah, I don't really care if it's good or bad for Microsoft. They'll be all right, won't they?
They will. And here's the interesting thing: you just hit on why I think they're doing it, because I would say the majority of my Discord don't play too much Call of Duty. You have a couple big fans.
Mm-hmm.
But the number of people who stated, I am going to keep my Game Pass because Call of Duty is coming, and I'm going to play Call of Duty for the first time in blank years, that to me, small sample set, obviously not in any way accurate. But when looking at the comments, I was all, I get you. And, you know, we do like sometimes upwards, 20 or 30 people, and we'll be in a chat, and we ask these kind of questions all the time. Like, what do you, because I sort of want to know, like, that's my filter. It's better than Twitter, where you post and it's chaff. You'll never get any actual data. But at least from this small subset, when I asked, that was all people said. Every person in there said, well, it's on Game Pass. And I was going to cancel Game Pass in a couple months, maybe, but I'm for sure not now, because if there's that, then there's other Call of Duties coming. And you just get this ramp up where it becomes a part of the expected library. And then people are like, well, I may want to return to... And here's the other thing, guys. A lot of people who go back to Call of Duty occasionally, there's something very intelligent about this. If you leave it on there, somebody 3 months from now is like, I'm going to leave my Game Pass running because Jeremy may say, let's come back and play a little Call of Duty, and I don't want to have to go through the rigmarole of signing up. I know what it costs. I'm just rolling it. So there's... I think they'll test it for a couple, and then I think Mike's right. I do think a price hike is coming. I think it only makes sense. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it only makes financial sense. They did dig themselves a big hole with that purchase. And remember how many billions they lost. Billions in the delay, in the FTC delay. They were losing money because they weren't even able to roll anything at all forward. It was like they were stymied. And any big purchases they want to do, the FTC would have looked at those. So it's like we have to basically stop everything until this goes through. In one way, you could say Jim Ryan did his best ninja move by stymieing that the way he did, or the way companies did. There were multiple people involved, but that was an interesting time because we got more data about gaming from the leaks than we've ever got from any like ex-employee or anything, because theirs is always, here's what I did, here's some of the data, but those were just straight up, here's a PDF. Like, look at the ARM stuff. Microsoft was stating they were already looking at ARM, and now we just saw the Microsoft event, and you're like, all right, so all that shit was lined up, perfectly from those PDFs that were leaked. It was an interesting time. I'm sure interesting is not the word Phil Spencer and others would.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to it just because I only play Call of Duty for the campaign.
Me too.
So, like, I'll jump in, play the campaign on Game Pass, and then promptly put it away. And I will have gotten my Game Pass for the month out of the way.
And I tell you something weird, though, Mike? I would have held off to get it cheaper, and I would have probably not joined multiplayer. If I review it, I for sure will, but as a gamer, normally I wouldn't. But I am going to tell you, it's on Game Pass. The chance of me jumping into to multiplayer is much higher right now than it's ever been. Because it's there, and I'm like, well, it's there. I might as well try to see, maybe I will like it because the investment's different. I mean, that's
and
their
if
game.
they get you into multiplayer, there's a 50-40% chance they might get you into Warzone, and if they get you in the Warzone, they're going to be getting you anytime they release. I literally just saw, I think they leaked Fallout skins for Warzone or something like that. So
no crap,
like,
really? I dig a Fallout skin.
The Vault Dweller.
Yeah. Oh, I got to admit, Power Armor or Vault Dweller, that's... I don't even want to talk about it because that is something I might do.
And see, and the skin costs what, $20? Would you pay $20?
Oh no!
It's like
no, I fucking wouldn't. Sorry, I thought you were gonna say like 99 cents or $4. Sorry, I was drinking. There is no chance in a billion gillion years I would pay 20 for a skin.
Karak.
It's hilarious.
Really?
Warzone skins are not. They're like 15
for a single skin.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Nah, I wouldn't mess. See, I don't do a lot of Call of Duty stuff. I wouldn't mess with that.
Man, it's just so funny how Remnant 2 has like a full-on regen, DLC, new class, new
That's
gameplay,
free?
new monsters for like no, it was like $5. Like it's an actual
The DLC.
expansion,
Yeah.
but it was like $5, you know. It's just fucking wild.
I
wonder, that's
legit
what I
thought
was
he was
wondering.
going to say $4.99 or something. I don't track the skins for that game. I know that they're high, but I was also surprised by the Blizzard or the
Yeah.
Diablo skins and their cost.
That's
So-
what
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's what I was wondering about though. If there's like less of a barrier to entry when it comes to like getting the game, so no money to purchase it. I wonder
Yep.
if it incentivizes people to get like battle passes and be sucked into that in that way. And I really hope they release the old CODs on Game Pass because there's some campaigns I missed that I just want to play and they never go down in price. They're still
This
quite
is what
pricey.
happens with a free-to-play game. This is not free. It's 39 cents, I think, was when I did the division of how many games are on Game Pass divided by cost. It's super cheap per game. But you look at it, somebody says, 39 cents, I'll buy you $10. If they like the game, and they're like, I'll spend another $10 or $20 for a skin. So there you go with your extra skins. And by the way, those cost more than the game making itself. So it makes total sense.
And
you-
you buy like 3 or 4 of them, then you've
Covered the game.
spent you've covered the game, and
Yep.
now you're mentally locked in. You're like, well, I own like 5 skins for Warzone or Fortnite or whatever. So now this is my game. I
Yep.
own
Mhm.
this much stuff for, Destiny or whatever. So this is the game I'm playing.
Yep.
Mhm.
And
that
if it's...
model though, like
Go ahead.
at some point, Game Pass becomes an obstruction and a hindrance to that model, doesn't it? That's why Fortnite is free to play, whereas Game Pass is only targeting that particular free to play style model, only going to people that are subscribed. Kind of start swinging the other way at some point, and you start to get into the should the game just be free to play if this is how we're going to monetize it?
It should, but there is no overlying rule or Order 66 for all game development. So there will for sure be titles that are free to play, finals, those kind of things. And they won't impact the majority of people and what they do if those continually pay off financially. But I do believe the same thing happens. Yeah, I'll think that too. When I look at a free game or, and you're like, oh, well, this one's free to play, doesn't require any subscription at all. Maybe I'll do that. But the brand new shiny thing, Asa, is a big deal. I mean, the brand new shiny, like a brand new shiny Call of Duty for a lot of people is a huge deal. Like one of those massive things where they look at it and they're like, oh, I'll dive in. And it's Black Ops, right? So I think that matters more because I think for the majority of people, from what I understand, at minimum, the campaigns are more enjoyed or more, I guess you would say rated higher by gamers than the Call of Duty ones, especially when it's Modern Warfare. Hours. That's the other thing. How long will it be, right? Like, how long will that
It's
campaign
weird
be?
though. It's Black Ops 6, and I don't even remember a 5. I thought 4 was the last one that came without a
No,
campaign.
Cold War.
Cold War
War.
was 5? Okay, was that
Yes.
considered 5? Okay.
I
Yeah,
just don't
it
know
was-
if they
it
put a
was-
number, right?
No, they didn't put a
They
number.
didn't,
So
yeah.
it was Black Ops 4 with the 4 logo.
Right.
And then Black Ops Cold War was like the prequel, and now it's 6. So Cold War was
So weird.
technically 5.
That's so weird.
They
Their-
did that
their
George
numbers-
Lucas shit where they're like, start the movie at chapter
Yeah.
6. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What are you talking
yeah.
about?
What is the
Or
most
whatever he said,
optimal-
chapter 4, I think, or whatever, when
Like
Star
Modern
Wars
Warfare
started.
2 remaster, remake.
I don't even
which-
know what's going on there. I'm always
Yeah.
forgetting which Modern Warfare we're talking about. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good stuff. I'm excited to see what we're gonna get from it. If it's a good game, it's a good game. That's actually all I can hope for right now because I don't know the rest of it. And so you have that event. You got Microsoft's event. We know that there's new games being shown at the Microsoft event. At least 1 or 2 no one's seen from what I'm hearing. And I would believe that because Microsoft usually has 1 or 2 things. And so does Sony. So does Nintendo. They usually have 1 or 2 things they want to pop off, even if it's just a small bit. Perfect Dark is too early to be shown from what I understand. So I don't think it'll be Perfect Dark. I hope it would be great if it was, but I'm hearing that is not what's going to happen. And then, as somebody just mentioned, Gears of War. I'm ready for Gears of War. I think Gears of War would be a great thing, Joe. I don't know where it is or if it's even a thing right now. You guys, like, has anybody heard any rumors other than people want a Gears of War 6? Have been
The last I heard rumor was that it was surprisingly close around the corner, but
Interesting.
not
Mike
from,
with the
not from
hot
like
leaks.
not from like a trusted source or anything. Just like a
Mike is stating officially on this channel. No, I'm just joking. You can do your apology tour later. Dude, I would be so stoked, right? Or Gears of War Tactics 2. I know it's not
that
a
was
seller.
a really good game.
Oh,
That was a
it
really
was
good
so
game.
good. Yeah. Did you do that one, Asa? Did you do Gears of War Tactics?
Yeah, I did. It's got the makings of a really good game. I wouldn't say it quite reached it because it gets very repetitive. I think if they did a sequel, it would be
It's a
brilliant.
game. All
I can
games are
agree with
repetitive. Uno's repetitive. Chess is
No,
repetitive.
like the mission structure was too repetitive. Like, I've done this. I've been chased by your bombing runs over and over and over. I've saved 2 prisoners over and over and over. That's beyond
that is
repetitive.
true.
That's like we've run out of money. So a sequel, I think, would be brilliant. Yeah, I love that Tactics brings back the thing that I like about the first Gears of War was the tactical tense feel of it, and the other Gears are more spectacle. Gears Tactics is like right where that series needs to go for me, but that game just needed a little bit.
Isn't
a little
it
bit
weird?
more belief so that they could deliver a bit more variety.
It's weird that Gears of War Tactics feels like a Gears of War game somehow still, too. Everything that moved,
It fits so well, yeah.
it fits the world, and it even fit the cover because it was already a big deal in Gears of War. So going into cover, using the chainsaw required a specific thing. There was somehow it translated a third-person shooter into a tactics game quite well. Certainly better than some others that we've seen when they do that. Let's see. Christopher says, ACG, I saw an article that the former Rocksteady devs are working on a big single-player game with Microsoft. I did see that. Yeah, that was that yesterday or this morning? But I did see that news pop. With that kind of news, I don't really have anything to add to it. The big company giving money to a company to make a game. It feels like it's not news until we see something.
Speaking about the Microsoft thing, I really hope we see the Clockwork, the
Revolution?
Exile game. Yeah, I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be like Avowed, Indiana Jones, Clockwork Revolution.
Stalker 2.
Stalker 2?
I could see that.
See,
We
Mike's
need,
got
like,
the
a
same
slice.
delay I have when we talk about Stalker 2, and I don't know if his delay is mine, but something about Stalker 2, I just feel like, I don't know. I want it to be good and stuff, but they've had so many issues with the war and all that stuff and just all these difficulties technically, and I'm just consistently like, love to see some Stalker 2. I would love to see them. Do we have a date?
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. Wait, do we?
Yeah.
Well, we got a date then.
maybe a
That's-
rough.
If we have a specific date, then I take it back.
September 5th.
Then I take it back. That's good. That's awesome. Because I want to play that game so bad. Go ahead, Mike. I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was saying the Pacific Drive gave me what I look for from a Stalker. Like my problem
good
with
game.
the Stalker game is combat per se, as opposed to like the original Roadside Picnic like novel, which is all about the anomalies and stuff like that, and the Stalker movie. So Pacific Drive like hit that for me. So I'm happy. So I'm looking forward to Stalker 2. I hope it does well for them. I'm sure it will.
Are you sure it will?
I'm absolutely sure it will. You
I
heard
only-
it here first.
I only ask because I feel like lately every sure thing I bet on has turned out to be absolute trash. Not trash in that the game is trash, but that my opinion of something that would do well that I thought would do well didn't. The things I didn't expect to do well did. Feels like maybe this year's
What was
a
the
little chaotic.
last thing?
Well, I know I thought the finals didn't have... So the finals has now hit an issue. But when the finals first came out, I was looking at it going, this got us some negative heat with the AI announcers, and it looks pretty lean, and that game turned out to be great. Pow World, when I played Pow World, I'm sorry, it was trash. It was technically terrible. It was terrible from start to finish when I played it for a preview/review. So bad that I couldn't even get it to continue to play enough to cover it. And then that released, and then there was the Nintendo possibly copying them, all that stuff, and it did spectacular and good for them. I've just been I've just been surprised at sales sometimes, especially this year more than others, that games didn't do well. I was surprised Mirage didn't do incredibly well because that did sort of try to hit the beats that people have said that they wanted. Actually, I'm not so surprised about that one because what people say they want on social media really means absolutely nothing when it comes to power.
Yeah, I also think it was a little bit smaller. But I do agree, like you hear on the internet, they're like, oh, I want the older Assassin's Creed. And I do think you should probably feed those folks. Ubisoft, you're big enough. But I also believe that the RPG games are probably more beloved in terms of the average person that just picks up a game at a, like, they want a game that takes 100 hours and they buy one game and they're gone for like 2 years.
Yeah, the length of a game is a bigger discussion than it's ever been, and I thought it was already big, but it's become such, I mean, the length of a game and meaning worth has, even if they're bloated, it's become such a big conversation with how long a game is. It happened with Hellblade, it happened with Baldur's Gate. Oh, it must be good because it's this many hours or what have you, and luckily it was, but a lot of games aren't. Valhalla's one known to be bloated, but admittedly, now that it's patched up, I like it way more than. Do we have anything for Xbox and Call of Duty? Anything else? Anything amazing? Any hardware? By the way, the new Xbox controller might be shown, which is the one that connects via the cloud without going to hardware at your home, other than your router, and that's on purpose to make cloud sync better for latency. So that'll be cool. That was in their leaked PDFs as well. That one has a button to connect directly, so you don't have to connect to your Xbox at all, and it's supposed to help them sync frames with the cloud so that latency is lower when you play a stream. That happens.
Yeah, presumably make it easier if you're playing via a streaming service that's built into your TV rather than your console. Yeah, it's what Luna does, right? The Luna controller is
Luna did that, thing. And Luna was known to have a pretty good latency reduction because of it. So I think that was Microsoft's plan. Cloud went weird with Microsoft. Sarah did mention that they are improving it. So is Phil, but it's like it's sort of gone the wayside, especially when you play GeForce Now versus that. The difference is, it's not even a difference. It's a completely different class. It's like it's not even connected. They're so different in their delivery of content and how good or bad they are. So I'd love to see Microsoft put the bill on improving that as well. So yeah, maybe the new controller. Would you guys think we'll see the new Xbox SKU, the new one?
Are they doing a refresh?
The adorably all digital.
What'd you say?
The adorably all digital thing.
Yeah, it's like at one point it was cylindrical, but now there were some leaked pictures when it just looks like the typical box thing. I didn't mind the cylindrical. It looks like the Amazon device I have that I'm not going to say the name out loud but that's what it looked like to me, was a thing.
I hope that we don't see it at the event because it's such a nothing of a device. It's just an iteration of the hardware that we've already got. So
yeah, absolutely. Leave it to the games, right? What if they do an announcement and they say Game Pass? They would never announce the Game Pass increase at the event. But I do wonder if we're going to get a different tier or something. I don't know why. I just feel like I've been waiting for that price to go up dramatically. But hey, it hasn't yet, so that's good. Speaking of things that haven't happened, PSVR 2 has never taken off, has never really had anything worthwhile other than the headset. But a adapter for the PC to PSVR 2 has been spotted. They say it's on like a hardware patent website. I'm excited for that because the PSVR 2 headset's pretty comfortable. Good device overall. Are you excited for that, Asa, as a PSVR fan? PSVR 2, the fanboy, the biggest PSVR 2 fan that I've ever known.
That is a title that I choose. Yeah. No, I'm not excited for it really. For me, I think I was on here right after they announced the intention to do PC VR with that device, right? Mm-hmm. It feels familiar anyway. It feels like we've had a bit of this conversation before, and I reckon for me, that was kind of the moment that signaled them moving away from VR for me.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you can take it as a positive because options for consumers are brilliant, and being able to use that device on a PC is better than not being able to use that device on a PC. But I said right then, like this is them saying we're washing our hands of this. We don't want to make the games for it. And then really shortly afterwards, they closed all of their VR studios. So I feel like I was very quickly vindicated on that. So the continuation of this, the fact that it's going to need an adapter to work, it's hard for me to get excited, partly because it's all tied up in that feeling that they've given up on the device for me, but also because the PSVR 2, in terms of comfort, you called it a very comfortable headset. I think the PSVR 2 is a brilliant bit of hardware, but my nose is this shape. So for me personally, it's actually really uncomfortable.
Okay.
It just hurts when my nose has been broken too many times. So for me, it won't be a PC VR headset. And the fact that you need an adapter means I probably won't even get around to testing it as a PC VR headset.
Right.
Because that thing's possibly not going to be that cheap.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, adapters have notoriously, for any like cross-platform adaptation that we see, is usually not super cheap because of what it has to do. So yeah, I agree with you. I can see that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
It's a good Hail Mary to get some of those out there, and maybe they'll pick up some just, enthusiast people. But I think probably, like, it's a very comfortable headset and I like the controllers, but probably the Quest 2 or 3 is about the right form factor. You can
Right.
play it standalone, you can play it with the PC. And that's even when I get to I don't want to say a few years ago, I wrote an essay about the fact that I just don't think VR, like, I love VR personally. Like I'll drop my thing on my Quest, hook it up to the PC, drop into Steam VR and try some stuff out. But VR itself, I think, is antithetical to how people play games in a household.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I play games, like my partner will sit and watch me play the game and we'll talk. Like if you are in a house with someone else who also plays games, maybe they're playing a game on like a Switch or something, but they're talking with you and watching and they're interacting with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't do that with VR. Like you put on the headset and it's just you inside the thing. And there can be social, like, pass-through cameras so you can talk to people inside, and they have things to mirror what's on the headset on your TV, but it's just I don't think it's the same way the average person plays video games. And that sucks for me personally, but I just think that's the way it is, and maybe something like AR is more what the masses will like more. I don't know.
Let's draw a little parallel too. If I'm sitting there talking about PC games, I notoriously hear somebody say, well, I want to sit in front of my couch and play on a controller because it's easier. If that is already the discussion, then PSVR on your face, a big device on your face, is even a larger step away from comfort, or large. So to me, it all fits in the idea of comfort, the idea of ease. My headset I can touch right now, hasn't been on in a while. Ubisoft has stated quite clearly that they are done. They were one of the biggest, technically the biggest third-party publishers of VR games. They had done a bunch.
AC Access was great.
Dude, Star Trek was great. Star Trek is one of the most enjoyable, fun, social VR games I've ever played in my life. It had voice. It even used voice to do commands. It was a hilarious time. And AC game was great. And they've dropped it. And as Asa said, Sony just fired all their company. I mean, they're just gone. They completely... Like, one of my favorite games of all time is Concrete Genie. Those guys are shuttered as well. They just completely shuttered all those companies. What was the Firewall? Was that the shooter? And they were working on Firewall 2, and they were shut down. So, yeah, pulling away from VR makes sense. When it comes to AR, Mike, I have the Nreal glasses, and Rokid, I have their glasses. I've tested them. Great glasses, man. The screen on the Nreal in particular is really insanely good, especially if you're running it off a Legion or a G-Deck and you're using USB-C out. I think AR could be popular, but I think whenever somebody's seeing something you can't see, that does become an issue if there's any social sharing that you're accustomed.
Like, yeah, any AR gaming would be something like Pokemon Go, like
Mhm.
you know, a bunch of people just walking around in a fucking field with the glasses on,
Tripping over
interacting
shit,
with the
breaking
same
ankles,
thing.
suing Nintendo. Yeah. Sim games, of course, I'm not talking about because sim games are incredible in VR. Those are their own little thing. But I think for the VR fan, it's cool. I'm happy that there's going to be an adapter, but I agree with Asa. I don't think it'll be cheap. And if there's an adapter, there's almost notoriously more delay, just because it's an adapter and there's some other processing going on. Hopefully, it's not much. I'm excited to see it. One of you guys mentioned Twisted Metal earlier, and I do want to point out that Warhammer 40K Speed Freaks, which looks like Warhammer 40K Twisted Metal, is in early access, or maybe not early access, maybe it's a demo, but it's on Steam. I happen to have this completely separate from our discussion, so it was a good time to say this. This says, in the 41st millennium, a cult of speed-based orcs have emerged together in immense speed wagon. These speed freaks are addicted to high-speed combat with the fastest, shootiest, pulse-pounding, brain-rattling combination of DACA and recklessness. They bring their supercharged mug of buggies and tanks into the speed wagon, hell-bent on gunning down their rivals and trashing everything in their place. What I saw this yesterday, when I saw this trailer, looks really fun. It looks just like Twisted Metal in a Warhammer world. So anybody listening, or you guys, if you're a fan of Twisted Metal, that looks to be it. And like all Warhammer games, other than Space Marine, is announced and shown, and no one knows. I do not know what it is. If people think Hellblade 2 didn't have PR, go talk to anybody who's released a Warhammer game and ask them about the PR for Warhammer games.
There's so many, dude.
It's not only that there's so many. This was even back in the day when they were barely, back before they were the Horror Babylon of IPs, and they were like not releasing their IP to anybody. You still didn't know half the time. I don't know what it is about Warhammer stuff.
Now,
that just popped up.
I'm a noob when it comes to this, but is there... I feel like I hear 40K sometimes and 30K sometimes. Is that like a thing? Is there a difference, or does 30K not exist?
Different time
30K
frame.
doesn't exist. It's
just
Warhammer, and then
Warhammer Fantasy
40K.
Yeah. There's Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay too, which there's only been one RPG ever, I think, but it's a big D&D line. Then there's Warhammer Fantasy, which is your miniatures. Then there's Warhammer 40. So it depends on if you're in D&D or not. There is a separate 30K is probably a time-based difference.
Gotcha.
Where maybe fans have, but I don't know much or anything other than the occasional mention I hear on the internet of 30K. But there's Rogue Trader too. So that's the other thing, is that there's different facets that go on. Most of the time when you hear 40K, it's the wars, it's the Imperium.
Oh wow, I looked it up. Yeah, no, they call the Horus Heresy
the 30K, right?
Is they call 30K.
Yeah, so it's a time-based difference, and I don't know if we've had any games in 30. I don't know if we've had any games in that time frame. But books,
it's
all the
weird though. Like in 40K, I feel like I've played a couple 40K games, and it feels like each one is in a completely different thematic. Like it feels like different worlds almost, but with some tie-ins. Because like Necromunda, you're in this like shit, and then Rogue Trader was very different. Space Marine felt very different. So it's crazy. And now there's like a Twisted Metal thing, so I don't know what's going. Like that world is massive or something, right? It's
well, yeah. I mean, it's it's like thousands upon thousands of planets, and it does feel like that, but it can also feel like that when you drive to the East Coast and you live on the West Coast. It feels like an alien world. So I mean, if you imagine different planets, it would be even weirder. And so that's how I take it. But yeah, there's,
gotcha.
All these games, Rogue Trader feels way different because certain characters you think, whenever we see Space Marines, you're like, that's the badass. But if you don't really understand Warhammer, you may not realize that, especially when you look at the Inquisitors and stuff, you're like, whoa, those are the badass. So there's like, everybody's like a badass in their own separate.
Man. Yeah, it's so interesting, man.
And there's Mechanicus is a PC game. I believe it's called Mechanicus. There's a couple PC games out there. Daniel Levi did ask me a question that I did miss, and I want to hit up. He said, do we think we'll see State of Decay 3 at the Xbox event?
Oof.
Okay, Mike's saying and I'm saying no. So I'll go with Mike. I hope. There's been so many problems at that development studio.
Yes, definitely, 100%.
You'll say yes.
I just feel like no other zombie game or no other game really hit what State of Decay 2 hit. Like that type of game is very unique. So
Yep.
I really hope they expand it.
So do I. I would love to see that. And then next up, I don't know if you guys saw this, but one of the games we talked about where we felt bad for them, or at least Mike did, Immortals of Avium, they added FSR frame gen, the consoles. First game to have frame gen, and seems to have worked quite well. So that's good.
Wow.
That's good to hear. Yeah. See that added to that game, because that did have some FPS issues. Mike, did you play Immortals?
Briefly.
Was that
Like,
briefly?
I like the idea.
Go
But
ahead.
like, I like the idea. Like, it's Call of Duty, but fantasy, and it's a good
Right.
idea. And I think the execution was good. But like, while I was playing it, I jumped to something else. I forget what it was, and then I never went back. And I was just like, man, I feel bad for them.
I want
you
to
hit
point
it-
out how hilarious it is that Mike knew the game he jumped from, but didn't even know the name of the game he jumped to, and still didn't return to Immortals. Does that not speak to everything about Immortals? I'm sorry, Mike. I got to point out that was awesome. That was amazing. You're like, yeah, so Immortals, blah, blah, blah. I played it, and then I played something I don't remember, but something else, and I never went back. That's awesome. Do you think you will?
eventually.
Okay, Mike is assuming eventually means death or around that time. That was awesome. You're you're
Someday
just such
when,
a nice guy.
10 years from now, when you get all those YouTube videos about how it was actually a really good game.
God,
You know?
yeah. Why Witcher 3 was terrible. The YouTube. I'm gonna expose the world.
5-hour video.
State of Decay 3, I'm excited for. I've heard there's been a lot of issues at that studio. They've been have some difficulties. The engine switch, I've heard, was difficult for them. But I'm super excited to see a State of Decay 3, man. Like, I really enjoyed
Same.
1. 2 had some technical issues, but I've really enjoyed the core gameplay of that game. It is...
Love that loop, man. I love that loop.
Dude, yeah, it's so good. And imagine if they picked their balls up from the ground and they returned to number 1's permadeath.
Yes,
I would be so
please.
happy.
That was the best thing about it.
Just
man.
give me the option of turning. Just give me the option of simulating the death, because coming back and hearing that Tracy got eaten and Bill and John are in argument, so John went off and I have to decide who I'm going to save. But I loved that feeling of a living world.
Yeah.
And no other game hit that, man. No other game. And of course, like game makers do, they listened to the loudest complainer and they changed it. So maybe with 3 they won't. I have faith that they will try to deliver a true sequel. I have faith they will try. Political way of saying. Asa says, ACG shamed me for enjoying Avium last time I was on, so I'm silent now. I didn't remember. I'm going to be honest, I didn't remember. Just like Mike couldn't remember the game he leapt away from to forget playing it. What you liked it? A lot?
Did quite like it. No, not a lot, but I quite liked it. Yeah,
That's fair. All right, cool.
yeah,
Did you beat it?
You liked it?
yeah. I did.
You beat it?
And I saw your review, and I appreciate your criticisms of it as well.
But
I
you
quite enjoyed it
still, you
overall.
powered through that thing. And
Yeah.
I will say,
Yeah.
Gina Torres, the voice actress that's in it, the main, your trainer, the main lady, I really dig her. I'm glad she did it. I love
She's
to see.
always great.
She's always great. Yeah. So that was fantastic to see. I wish it had, one thing that would have fixed that game, just for me, not spawn enemies in front of me.
Spawns, I knew it.
I think that really shined a light on a difficulty they were having, maybe with the engine, maybe with what their design was. I would have loved to have had the Vermintide kind of thing where the enemies spawn somewhere and then they crawl over a wall, and so it feels like they're encroaching versus whoop, like Mass Effect Andromeda dropping aliens from the sky right in front of your car. That kind of stuff really broke it for me. No, that's cool, man. I'm glad you did. I tried.
I just wish it was a little bit more badass. It just felt like, from what I've seen, the story delivery and the characters just felt a little bit, hey guys, like kind of.
Yeah.
I wish it was a little bit more badass. That would have definitely, got me.
Yeah, there was. How in the old days, man, a game would be like, you're the chosen one, so therefore you're amazing and better than others. Avium at time felt like it was like, you're the chosen one, therefore we can't tell you how good you are. You're pretty much the same. You're like, participation award. of the game. It was very odd in that way narratively. But I still, there were parts of it I liked. I also think, though it had some graphic issues, the design of the world was pretty. There was and the magic ideas were really fun. Like, there were some really good ideas there. Maybe we'll see it too. I don't think we will, but maybe we'll see it. As Ace
I want to see more EA original stuff. Like, I always like.
So do I.
Cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Any of the companies that support a little bit of the on the side kind of stuff and letting people dive into something. EA in particular, Ubisoft. Everybody disses on them, but Ubisoft's got a couple of small ones. Immortals Phoenix Rising 2 was being made for a while.
And they canceled that for more Assassin's Creed, which I'm not mad about. But
I'm not,
also,
but I really liked that game.
I like Immortals. Yeah, it was a great game.
Dude, yeah. I'm assuming it didn't sell well, right? Speaking of that, let's jump to the new Prince of Persia. Did any of you guys do the early access for this new Prince of Persia?
No, but I'm very, very interested. I think I'm waiting for it to cook a little bit more.
Is it because it's early access that you guys didn't, or is there something I'm missing? I would have assumed.
Yeah, for me, it's early access.
Oh, I see.
I didn't even realize it had come out.
Right. Okay.
Not in early access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I love what they're doing. I like the music and the art style is like the art style for me is what's interesting to me the most, and the movement looks really good, and it's kind of like Dead Cells but with Prince of Persia platforming elements, which is a cool concept.
Yeah, it's the same original Dead Cells, guys.
So, if it's the same original Dead Cells, guys, they did early access for Dead Cells. Ubisoft, I don't know if Ubisoft approached them for this or if they were already working on something. I believe the story is they were already working on something, right? Then Ubisoft approached them, if I remember that.
I think so.
Okay.
And then they moved off of Dead Cells, and then so Motion Twin is one, and then Evil Empire, I think, is the other team.
Okay.
That took
I
over
see.
Dead Cells.
Okay. Right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
And I think this is Motion Twin. So,
were you guys Dead Cells fans? I think Asa was, right?
I was. Definitely.
Mike, you were? Okay, Mike. So what got you into Dead Cells, and then do you see any of that shared in this one, even though it's early access? I know you haven't played it, but does it speak to you?
I mean, visually, movement, just Dead Cells had such fluid flow and movement to it. Like, once you really understood the mechanics, you could just I could flow even after death. Like, you would just loop back around and keep going. Sometimes a good roguelike hits you. And Dead Cells definitely was that. So I'm looking forward to see what they can do with Prince of Persia.
Yeah, I saw the animation. I don't know. It looks different. I don't know.
And Lost Crown was great. So yeah.
What was?
Lost Crown, the other Prince of Persia game.
Yeah. Yeah, Lost Crown.
KARAK had issues with that because of a bug.
Dude, I've had some, Mike knows this, but whenever you're reviewing a game, sometimes you'll just have a bug that stymies you or whatever. And if there was a bug that stymied me, it was a bug in that. I mean, that was a disaster. I would have liked to have covered it, but it was a game-killing bug. It was one of those situations where I couldn't even play it enough. I didn't even have enough footage to play it and say it's not worth getting because of this bug. It was pretty much at the starting, and it was an absolute devastator. I also want to say shout out to Dev Guy, because I thought it was only going to be me, and then he got the official game, same bug. And I was like, okay. It felt a little cool to share that misery with somebody else. Christopher Jetzer says 9 Souls just came out on Steam. It's a 2D Sekiro parrying Souls-like combat game. That's a lot. That's a mouthful. Have you guys seen any of that?
That's the one with the little white
like animal
fox thing. Fox thing. I've seen it. I haven't looked any deeper or played it or anything.
Speaking of looking deeper, this month, next month, is there anything other than like Elden Ring that you guys are looking forward to? Anything that's on your list of games to jump into?
On games.
Mostly just waiting
know.
to see the Summer Game Fest announcements.
Yeah, I think this will be an interesting conversation to have post the PlayStation, Xbox, and some.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, nothing in June really. When's
I
the
just picked
Atlas
up
game?
Paper Mario. Yeah.
Did you?
Oh yeah, the remake. How is it?
Yeah, Paper Mario and the physical copy of Sea of Stars, which I did not touch because I was waiting for a physical copy.
Oh,
Mm.
gotcha.
So I'll probably get into those again.
Mm.
I
A
think-
game that has been out for a while and
Maybe that was the one you dropped Mortals of Avian for. I'm just joking. I can't remember. When it comes to the future of this year, I mean, are we assuming that the Xbox and Sony events are going to show games coming this year, or do you think a lot of those are going to be a 2025?
Ooh, I think 25.
So
Other
do
than the
I.
games we
I'm
know
a little
of.
nervous
Yeah.
they're going to be next year. Go ahead, Mike.
Mm.
We're also.
I feel like they'll mostly show stuff from this year just
You think so?
because we don't have a lot for the latter half of the year.
Mm.
Like
We don't. Yeah, we don't at all. Other than a couple of things.
Let me give
like
my
we
argument, and
just
then
got Assassin's Creed announced,
yeah,
and that's coming later this year. So I mean, there'll probably be some 2025 stuff, but I feel like we need to fill out the back half of the calendar, and Summer Games Fest is when that happens.
I hope you're right. I just feel that what we need to do versus what game development cycle got screwed up by COVID and the releases that happened means that we may not get it even if everybody sees that gap. I certainly hope you're right. I certainly hope there are more stuff. You're right about Japan. It's just
Yeah,
that
like
Japan definitely got announced later than normal. Go ahead, sorry.
like if you look at the Wikipedia for 2024 in video games, like October and December is like
Empty.
8 games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Metaphor is October.
only 2 of those are really like big.
Mhm.
And that's Assassin's Creed and Metaphor ReFantazia.
Mm.
The other
Oh yeah,
stuff
Metaphor,
is-
Refund, whatever's yeah, that's for sure big. I have no clue what that game even is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
looks cool,
there's
man.
there's a November that is just we just got Call of Duty Black Ops
Mhm.
6, but that's October, November, and nothing for December. Like nothing.
Mm.
Man, I hope you're right. I just feel like you can't rob Peter to pay Paul too many times, and it feels like we did that last year. And that the way games are releasing, there isn't much ready. So like I hope there is, and that's why we're getting late announcements. But I mean, I hope big time. And I guess I shouldn't say smaller games. I'm saying is there bigger games we're not aware of. There's one game from Microsoft that there's a ton of rumors going around that they do have something that's for this year that isn't Avowed and stuff like that. Also, I feel bad for Avowed in a weird way because we talk about these big games. Avowed is not mentioned very often. It just doesn't have any heat right now. It doesn't really have any discussion around it, and that could be because we're not seeing anything, I guess.
I think also,
I don't know.
is it because are people? I feel like there's this weird burnout, or not burnout. I don't know what the word to call it is, but this like whole Microsoft thing and the games coming out from there, where people aren't giving it attention or something like that. They're just kind of brushing it and just expecting less, of Stalker, of Avowed. Not a lot of people are talking about Stalker either.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think-
The other game.
I think Avowed is mostly because my expectation of that is going to be like the Outer Worlds,
Right.
in that it's going to be like a mid-size RPG, like pretty lean, pretty tight, like doing some interesting and fun stuff, but it's not going to be like a super expansive Elder Scrolls or Baldur's Gate 3 style RPG.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I don't
just
think
not
it
seeing
would it would be that big at all. Yeah, I don't think it'll be even bigger than Pillars in terms of scope. I think it'll be smaller than Pillars.
I think also when you look at Black Myth Wukong, we finally have data about that. That one's sort of hot right now. A lot of people want to see that, but I don't know. Maybe that's an issue with our coverage and not an issue with games. Like, it is weird that we say that there's not a lot of conversation because, not that you were directly saying this, but there's not a lot of conversation around that game because maybe it's not the big sprawling blah blah blah, but it's like, at what point do we have too many big sprawling blah blah blahs? It feels like I'm almost happier that Avowed is going to be they've been open too that it isn't big, that it's not huge, it's not that kind of thing. I'm sort of happy for that, but it feels like the world doesn't talk about it if it's not. Like there's something that's happening in game coverage and gamers as a whole where it's just like it doesn't get the coverage I think it would have, because Outer Worlds got coverage. It took it a while, but I still remember there was actually a huge amount of coverage. Maybe it was because it was futuristic and we don't have as many of those. I don't know. Go ahead, Abzi.
Yeah, it also came at a time where people have been wanting like this FPP RPG back to roots kind of skill checks and all that stuff. But I agree with you in that I hear a lot of people being like, oh my God, bloated game again. Oh my God, we don't, all these big games, not enough time. We want smaller games. But somehow it's only like the big sprawling ones that are making the most money, or like that people are gravitating to. Like people are replaying Elden Ring, replaying Baldur's Gate 3 like 20,000 times. I mean, you saw Valhalla sales, obviously.
Yeah.
All these big games are the ones that are selling the most. So it's really weird.
Asa, any of these excite you? Avowed, Black Myth?
I try to bring up Avowed as often as possible, because that's been on my like most anticipated list for a little while. But Abs is right, though. There is a strange thing where, particularly around commentary of games, there's this perception that everything needs to get smaller. We need budgets to go down. Like the big trouble with the gaming industry is budgets are too high and they don't need to be. But exactly like you say, like people will talk about Grand Theft Auto 6 way more than Avowed or anything like, and publishers have all seen it, and most of them are doubling down on going bigger. Like fewer games, all bigger in scope, because you need to hit this certain critical mass of attention before it's worth releasing. So I hope that stuff like Avowed, and obviously Hellblade that just came out, got a lot of attention, some good, some bad, for not being huge as well. I hope there's lots of scope for the industry to support games that aren't giant behemoths that want to absorb your life. But
that's a good point, Asa, because one of the feedbacks I got on Outer Worlds was that it wasn't long enough. And I looked at my time for Outer Worlds and I was like, that seemed like exactly the right amount of time for that game. That fit perfectly. And
yeah, you got in and out on that one.
Yeah, it was, and by the way, DLC, the Murder DLC, great DLC. The other one didn't hit as well, but that one in particular was enjoyable. Yeah, it is confusing. That's why I am always joking where it's, I do take the piss out on Twitter all the time, but the reason why is because Twitter's just not any kind of real. There's nothing about it that really shapes gamers anymore. It's just really outrage. And then YouTube, we have a tendency, if we focus on negative, people see a big, like I'll do a video. If I wanted to skew negative right now, I could get another 1 million subscribers quite easily, especially because when I go into a diatribe, usually I'll fire somebody up. I know I could. But the fact is that there's negative stuff, but then there's also some really positive stuff. And to me, I'm incredibly excited about Black Myth doing some different stuff. Incredibly excited about Avowed, even though I'm not a huge fan of Pillars Worlds. I love the idea of a company saying, we're not doing all this other stuff. But I do find it a little weird that when everybody complains, not everybody, I take it back, when you hear so many complaints about bloated or big, you got Assassin's Creed Japan getting announced. And what did I say years ago? It's their get out of hell or jail free card. It always has been. It always has been. It is break glass in case of problem. They should have broke this motherfucker before Ghost of Tsushima. That's their big mistake. Even though Ghost now, as people played it and returned to it, I've heard people picking things about it that I thought were an issue even day one. That's really nice for people to say, okay, it is good, but there's a couple little issues they could fix in too. It's just like Forza. Forza's break glass is Japan. That it really is. And you can tell, they know, because they stay away from it until it's like, they do. They don't want to be,
it, man.
They don't, it's like Tokyo Drift went early and now they're in space. Like the only thing Forza could do other than Japan would be driving on the fucking moon. And
True Space is another
it
one.
Is break glass. It's a perfect that's a perfect
funny,
like
man.
description of what it is. And but they've talked about all these systems. I don't know if you guys seen it. I'm really excited for it, but I was excited for Valhalla and I liked a lot of Valhalla, didn't like some of it. But Japan has some really good ideas. This Assassin's Creed Red, I'll call it Red till the day I die, even in my review. But when you look at this Assassin's Creed, they have some really good systems. They're bringing back stuff from the old games, like sort of the Brotherhood kind of stuff, being able to hire
Light and
people, have them
dark.
spy. Light and dark for the first time ever.
Yes.
If you
Dude,
break
imagine water
something,
arrows
it's
again?
going to matter. Water
Yeah.
arrows from Thief? I don't know if that'll
That'd be
happen.
sick.
Because how do you
Yeah.
put a water balloon on the end of an arrow? But we won't worry
Yeah.
about that. We'll let them
Yeah.
figure that shit out.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah.
Mike.
And like for me, I'm like people like, well, I mean, Ghost of Tsushima's out, and I'm like, man, Ghost of Tsushima came out for
For
me like
2020, right? Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
So like it's been out. I've played it. I've played it again on PS5. Even Rise of the Ronin. Like they're not really the same type of games.
Absolutely true.
And two,
Yes.
if there is a game that I like, I want more of it.
Yep.
Like,
Sure.
yeah, man. Like,
Yeah.
like just because Octopath Traveler 2 exists doesn't mean I don't want somebody else to do HD 2D games. Feed me, bitch. Like keep me.
Well, yeah, I
fed.
mean, it would be weird to be like, I've had sex once. Not going back to that. It was great, but I've already experienced it. It was really weird when you look at, like, especially these worlds, like Ghost of Tsushima. To me, I did feel that when I saw it. I would have loved for them to hit it earlier. I think it would have helped them because Ghost is great in its presentation and a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I really like Ghost. It's not really the same,
But
least
it's
for
not the
me,
same.
the same type of game. Like
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
traversal
It's more of a
is-
presentation game. Like it's more of a presentation carries a lot of that game, I found.
Yeah,
Which is not a bad thing.
and
Yeah.
the combat is good. I like it
Yeah,
really
it's
gives
fun.
me the cool like Chanbara samurai feel, but like it's not necessarily Assassin's Creed in the same way. And Rise of
Absolutely.
Ronin wasn't necessarily the same type of game
Or good
either.
in any way, shape, or form.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one thing. I know they're like different games, but when you-
Joking. I'm joking. It's not that.
It's
sorry.
still kind of like I played a little bit of Rise of the Ronin, and then I played Ghost of Tsushima, and just the quality of like the animations and the detail, kind of it's a stark. Let's say it's a stark
Yeah,
contrast.
they tried something.
Yeah.
I hope that the team at Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo gets a chance to expand on it. It wasn't. It is another one of those games I enjoyed, but it wasn't quite there.
Yeah, I don't know about
I
you
just
guys.
wanted open world Neo. That's all I
Well,
wanted.
yeah, I think everybody did. I also think I think open world Neo is much harder to deliver than almost any other open world game. Neo is set up a very particular way with combat. If you went that drawn out with combat, it'd be weird. Because look at, I mean, here, if I did this sign right now and I said I'm talking about a game, we would all know what I did. If I went, you'd be like Ghost of Tsushima, rock, paper, scissors. That is quite literally all Ghost of Tsushima is.
Oh, okay.
There's no
I got
problem with it, but that's what it is. And if you did Neo, that would be much more difficult to deliver an open world correctly without having it feel really hard. In fact,
Well, that's what they did with Rise of the Ronin. They made it more rock paper scissorsy
they
with
did
their stances.
because the Neo part that you wanted, what I wanted, would have been quite difficult to deliver in that game.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that everybody had really advanced glaucoma in Rise of the Ronin was a big boon for your
horse.
ability to fight. Dude, no, I mean, I was sneaking in front of a guy from like 9 feet away.
Oh yeah.
But all joking aside, they tried, and I'm all for them doing it again. That's the thing. I think a lot of people think if you dislike something, you immediately are saying, we never want a sequel
I'm excited
to
for
it.
Cyberpunk too.
So am I. So am I, for sure. Even if it's just a disaster, because I love chaos. But I hope it's not, because I would rather have them build on everything. But yeah, Cyberpunk 2. What would it... Cyberpunk... What did you call it? Cyberpunk... What was the
Orion?
year that
Oh,
you said?
2018?
2018, where I got confused. Yeah, this one would be like 2144 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, Assassin's Creed Shadows, worst name ever, by the way. Good job, Ubisoft. When it comes to Assassin's Creed Shadows, is there anything? So we've heard light and dark. We've heard destructible environments with some characters. We've heard the ability to switch the characters during particular parts in missions. We've heard different
the
environments.
ability to lay prone.
Prone.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So there's
Splinter
two
Cell
big
up in this
things.
biatch.
Two big things with these mechanics that I hope they full ass, okay? The first one being this like light and dark and you being able to prone and stuff. I hope they just don't have high grass. I just don't want to see high grass or like this like high grass everywhere. Oh, you can just hide over here and then roll to the other one. It's like I don't want to no more of that. And the other thing is that they talked about something very interesting with the way they're going to deliver the story this time, which is kind of in a more non-linear. You're an assassin, you got your targets, and you know, you don't have to do it in order and all that stuff. And I hope they full ass this like exploration based non-linearity and not do like a weird exploration mode. Like I want it to be built around that player agency, which would be really cool, and have exploration matter. They said those like big towers that you could go over, they don't reveal all the icons, but it's kind of like Phoenix Rising, where you can look down and mark things you see that are interesting, which, you know, it sounds good, man. It sounds good.
Anybody have anything else to add? I just don't.
What's the what do you think is the I next break glass in case of emergency era?
Cyberpunk. I think futuristic Cyberpunk. Shadowrun is huge. I think that Assassin's Creed in the future would be huge. We've spent hours in our Discord coming up with what an Assassin's Creed in the future with like invisible cloaks and climbing skyscrapers, air cars. I do believe that they've already showed with Beyond Good and Evil 2 what their plan was for a world-spanning kind of Cyberpunk game would be. And they all, I'm reading the excellent, by the way, book, the Assassin's Creed Atlas that came out. And they talk about the creation of every game and how different development teams will sort of hint to one another what they're doing, and other developers sort of hear that from one team at Ubisoft and sort of take some of those ideas and stuff. I would like to see a futuristic Assassin's Creed. I would like to see it. I don't mean the Animus, and I don't mean Joe Bob, whatever his name was, walking around really slowly through tunnels, whatever that guy's name. What was it? Desmond? Was that Desmond? Yeah.
Desmond
No.
Miles.
I'm talking about a cutscene where you flow into a game, you see a cyberpunk world, people walking around, you see a guy walking, and behind him you see a shimmering with rain coming down. You realize a guy's in an invisible cloak, stabs him with a creepy crypto Bitcoin dagger, and then climbs up some things, jumps on an air car, and flies away. I want to see a future cyberpunk styled game. I also want to see Shadowrun developed by somebody else. Microsoft owns Shadowrun, I believe. They got it from Harebrained. I could be wrong on that, but I would love to see that IP. I would love to see futuristic. I think that that's a place we just don't see often.
Yeah,
They
it's funny because
don't hit it.
The two Assassin's Creeds that people have been wanting for a long time is Japan and futuristic Assassin's Creed,
but not Desmond. Like that's the thing is when we say future, people are like
Desmond.
talking
No,
to
like
Kirsten
future.
Dunst or whatever her name was. I don't know, Veronica Mars lady. It's not Kirsten Dunst, the other one. But like nobody wants that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about finally moving us forward. But you know, Infinite, Assassin's Creed Infinite, they're already messing. We've seen it with Valhalla. We saw it with Odyssey, where they took the heroes from each game and put them in DLC in the other game. You can't tell me that's not Infinite and them messing around with the idea of what they've been talking about, which is like, what if blah, blah, blah. And I think that that's exciting. My look to you when you talked about 360 circles and map unlocks, I think that's generally a huge miss on Ubisoft's part, that the complaint that we had has nothing really to do with climbing to the top of a tower and unlocking stuff. It has to do with what you're unlocking, which is a bunch of bloat. And the idea that you climb on top of something and look around has worked in Horizon with no problems. The tall necks in Horizon. That does work. It does work. It's that when you get a bunch of bloat, nobody cares that some fucking pottery got unlocked and I can now see pottery. It's like I can see this thing I can go pick. That kind of stuff is the bloat. The idea of climbing up to something and seeing the world around you is awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. It's that Ubisoft continually messes up the entire situation around it. And I would like, that's the thing with Ubisoft. They have a tendency when they do make that choice, they cut it. And you're like, dude, maybe instead of having 70 fucking papyrus pieces of paper flying around that no jackass in the world wants to follow. No, I'll put it out. Anybody in chat or you guys, have you ever heard anybody in the world say that the best part of Assassin's Creed is following a fucking floating piece of paper? If you've heard it, I will donate $100 to something right now. Have you ever heard anybody say that? Or that they even like it?
Not even close.
That is the thing. Those kind of things are what Ubisoft... By the way, the Atlas covers this. Do you know why the papyrus papers were so prevalent in the first games and they've continued on? Because Ubisoft could not get all the content they wanted in Assassin's Creed 1. Jade Raymond's very open about that. She says it quite clearly. She's like, we had to cut a bunch of stuff, so we went and grabbed these papyrus papers we already had and added more to the game. It's right in there. So it's like, we don't need that anymore. We're done with that. And I think gamers have issues with that. I could be wrong. Maybe people have a problem with climbing to the top of towers. And
I do believe that it is a perception thing, in that don't show me all the stuff that, like, once I climb to the top of the tower, don't show me all the stuff around.
Right.
Because like Tears of the Kingdom, like if you like go to one of those interactive maps and like look at how many actual collectibles and blah blah blah,
right,
all right, there's a shit ton.
Thank you, by the way.
But
I want to say,
since it's not perceived in the map itself or in the game in that same way, as in you go up, you look down, and here's all the icons at once. Since it's not shown to the player in the same way, it's not perceived in the same way.
Absolutely.
So for them, it's like you can have the stuff there, just don't show it to them. Like, just let players find that stuff as they wander the world.
That's the thing, Mike. Do you know what discovery isn't? Being told exactly where something is.
Yeah.
Like, that's the weird thing, that they've neutered discovery in their own game about discovery. Asa, you're not saying much, so I don't know if Assassin's Creed is up your alley. But
Assassin's Creed is not. Stealth games are not a thing that I touch, and Assassin's Creed is known as being a stealth game, and the next one is called Shadows. So
it was known for being stealth, but the big complaint is there's not a lot of stealth. So maybe you could play.
There's a mission on Ghost of Tsushima where, like, there's points near the start of the game where it forces you to go stealthy, and then you get to this mission where it's like, well, you can choose how you approach this. You can be stealthy assassin, or you can just go in like all guns blazing. Right. So I made a point of like jumping as high as I could in the middle and throwing black powder everywhere, like explosions all over the place. This is my answer. Please do not ask me to be stealthy. That's how I want to play Assassin's Creed. Explode everything. I don't want to crawl around. I don't want to hide in the long grass and all of that kind of stuff. In terms of the map icons, you'd hope. I think Elden Ring was a bit of an eye-opener for Ubisoft in particular, but for a lot of the industry that were bloating their maps out with all kinds of things. Elden Ring came out and was so highly praised and revered. And one of the things that you can look at on Elden Ring is that it just does not tell you anything in that way. It just says, here's the world, good luck. And you see parts of it in Avatar, which is obviously a Ubisoft game that is a big open world and just says, like, it wants to direct you with the world rather than filling up your map. But I think they've said on this Assassin's Creed they intend to have less bloat on there. So I don't know. I'm optimistic for you guys that like Assassin's Creed, but
I just, at the same time, I feel like even though, it's about showing you or not showing you the checklisty stuff, I feel like they also have to design that world around there not being icons to kind of, because Elden Ring does guide players in some ways and some tricky ways. It's just not icons on the map. I just feel like if you do like exploration mode or whatever, where you just hide the icons or download a mod, it doesn't quite feel the same way.
Yeah, right. If you remove them, even in the HUD, which I'm big on Ubisoft games turning the HUD completely off, the game feels quite weird for a while. It turns out to be fantastic. Far Cry Primal with no HUD is one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life in an open world game. But it took a while. And by the way, this is so not planned by Ubisoft. They had a bug where you couldn't hit the A button to like get treasure without the inventory or without the HUD, because the HUD was the trigger. So if you walked up to someone and hit A to grab it, you couldn't grab it because they had not, I guess, QA'd the idea that people might want all of it off. It's fixed. But yeah, I love these ideas. The bloat thing is really interesting to me because I think we all have different ideas of bloat, and I'm sure we overlap. But like, sort of like a diagram, there'll be places where some people see bloat and some people don't. Also, because they are straight up world exploration porn in a good way, just meaning they are blatant about it. I'm excited to see Japan in that way. And the idea that Mike could be playing in autumn and I can play in winter, and they stated very clearly that in those 2 seasons, including the other 2 seasons, you will see massive changes to the landscape. I'm excited, but I'm going to tell you guys this. Every single time, almost every single, Ubisoft has stated a bunch has changed, not much has changed. And I include Mirage in that. Mirage had some things that still felt very much the new style of game, and that's because they want to hit people who do like the new style of game. They don't just want to say, We don't want people to buy this. That's idiotic to even think that they would do that. So I'm not holding a ton of hope that there won't be, at minimum, if Ubisoft bloat is at light level, it is still going to be at high or medium level for other games. Is what does that make sense? Like,
yes, yeah.
Yeah, so
relative to like other
relative
games,
to other games, their idea of exploring, they want you to feel like you get something. But look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla. One of the biggest problems they had was those goddamn doors. And you would go to discover, and then the door would be locked. And you'd be like, what? And you had to go into a cave. And you're all, how did the other fuckers get here? Like, what is going on?
Just
None of it made fictional sense, even in their world. That, I hope, is gone. Don't stymie me. What were you saying, Emsy?
It's just weird because I think they knocked it out of the park with the absolute crazy amount of variety in those little side quests around the world, those little sub-stories.
Yeah.
But then they just go back to that, very annoying, very repetitive thing with the design of the treasure stuff. I don't know why they did that. But I feel like they, sometimes I feel like they're scared of people getting bored or something like that, or people not being familiar with something. That's why maybe in Far Cry they throw chickens at you every 2 seconds or whatever. I feel like sometimes they just underestimate or overestimate how bored a player can be or how much dopamine.
You know what
they
I think
need.
they're afraid of too, Abzy? I think they're afraid of you going to a hut and there's nothing inside, and me making a YouTube going, look, there's nothing inside. I'm not joking.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not joking at all. I firmly believe the idea is that, you know what would be cool, guys? What if they did, you know how in the current games you can adjust the difficulty? We were playing Valhalla and a couple others, Odyssey, you can adjust the spawn rate. You can adjust the levels of enemies. Can you out-level them, something that people wanted? You know what I would like? Treasure rich or not treasure rich. And so in my decision-making, I could choose a difficulty and say, this is a resource lighter version of the game. And it wouldn't have burlap bags filled with gold, and this guy's poor and begging for money right outside the door. Which is, by the way, what happens all the time. I'm not saying that doesn't happen in real life, too. We know that does. But I'm saying you go in, you're playing Origins, and a guy's like, can I have some money? I can't feed my kids. You give him some money, you walk into his hut, and he's got like 100 drachma or whatever. You're like, dude, what? What is going on? Like, is he just, is he fooling me? Is he pocketing this? And you start building an idea. I'd like to have the ability to adjust it and say, I want a game that's a little
immersive mode or like RPG mode.
Yeah, or just call it, like the higher difficulties have less stuff, and then you can choose to play, something like that. Moving on from there, though, lastly, anything for Assassin's Creed, Shadows, Red, any other stuff you guys want to see? How about this? Is the Animus going to kill you if you see the Animus in 3? You guys dislike the Animus so much that if you see the Animus in 3, you're just gonna
I'm not that, like, I don't have a huge reaction to Animus sections. I just, yeah.
Just sort of a thing. Mike, anything from you that you want to see, or are you just ready to jump into it?
I'm just ready to jump in. I'm hungry. It's been a long time. I used to get Assassin's Creed every year. And now I don't.
What was the last one?
It's crazy. They used to be yearly.
Yeah, they used to be. What was the last one you got, Mike?
Mirage.
Did you like Mirage?
Yeah, I like Mirage. I mean, it was clear Mirage started off as DLC, like 100%. And they just needed something to fill out the calendar. I miss, you got all these studios. Take some time, do more stuff like Mirage. Like, just take whatever you're doing with Shadows and slightly shift the time period and do something. Like Rogue did. Like, you can do that.
Brotherhood, by the way, I mean, that was DLC. Again, I was reading that book yesterday and was unaware Brotherhood was DLC, complete DLC. And they needed, they wanted another title, and they couldn't get the other one ready, so they're like, let's do it as, Brotherhood, sort of the title. New Dawn was DLC for Far Cry, when you look at it, even though it was standalone. That was basically DLC for Far Cry 5 that turned into a standalone game. Loved or hated, I don't know where I stand on that one. I'm not a big fan of New Dawn, but I like Mike's idea of bite-sized, I guess would say, like 25 hours of game versus...
Yeah, 20, 25 hours, real quick. more stealth focused. That way you get to feed different types of players, you know?
And sometimes they incorporate, like they get a new mechanic going on and they incorporate it into their bigger game. Like I want to see the return of that wanted versus, or like that thief mechanic and stuff. I enjoyed it in Mirage.
I want to see them do.
You know how earlier someone mentioned that $20 skin and you kind of gagged on your drink. That's me when you talk about a 25-hour stealth game. I'm like,
oh right, yeah.
You don't like stealth. I want more stealth games, man. I want stealth games. Fuck. I want more stealth games.
Can I ask you a weird question then? Do you feel, not jealousy, but do you get like almost ire that Assassin's Creed games are, or I don't know if they're super stealth. I think a lot of people would say they're not, but let's say that they are. Do you get a little bit of ire that they haven't fit you at times? Because you see, like, let's say Valhalla's World and you like it, or Mirages? Go ahead.
No, not at all. And I know full well that the later ones, they don't have anything stealthy vibe about them. They might have some stealth in there, but they're not geared up that way. It's just that it's very difficult to get into a series late in the day. For me, I missed the Assassin's Creed train by not getting on at the first stop. So even though they've probably tailored and catered more towards me for the later ones, I don't really need to jump onto another series that's going to eat half of my life away. But I don't begrudge it being a thing for other people. Like, there's no way that every game can be made for me, and I'm not the center of the universe, unfortunately. I tried to be, but no, it's fine. Have your Assassin's Creed. Enjoy your Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, everybody's got main character syndrome, right? If the game isn't directly for them, it's bad. And you're like, it's not exactly how it goes. Pentiment wasn't for me, but it was a really good game. It was definitely for the 5 people who wanted it. And I congratulate Obsidian for making that game. Did you guys also see that Cyberpunk, they announced that as of now, no one is working on Cyberpunk 2077. They're fully moved on. They announced that yesterday. Moved on, guys.
Next Witcher, and what are they going to do there?
I don't know.
Remake and a new protagonist, maybe I don't know. Maybe.
But I mean, is 4? They stated they didn't want to do it exact like 3. But what does that leave 4 being? That more like 2, which was Hub.
I mean, Blood and Wine was very much a Geralt is done and retired. Like it was a great wrap up. So yeah, they got to do a new protagonist or Ciri, or create a Witcher.
Choose your school. You know.
So
that's what
we'll see how it goes.
It'll have like the origin thing from Cyberpunk, you know, but hopefully it does more than.
Hopefully you can look in the pond and see your reflection, or a mirror.
Hopefully you can see your reflection.
I'm just dissing on that game. So with Witcher 4, what do you guys expect? Because here's what I expect. I expect them to say it won't be identical to 3 or in the same format. It will be. I expect it to be a massive open world game, because that obviously succeeded beyond all belief, and it makes no sense to arbitrarily cut it off when that's what people want. But am I wrong? Do you guys see them hubbing it like 2, which I also like 2? So I mean,
I think it'll stay open world. I don't think
it'll stay massive open world like that.
Yep.
Different location, maybe different.
I think different time period. I think it'll be hopefully older when Witchers were still kind of going. You know, not the.
Not the last magician kind of bullshit.
Last Witcher, yeah. I want it to be, you compete with others for prices,
or
set up
bounties. Yeah, what if bounties?
Dude, what if it's like capitalism game? It's like you want to be the best Witcher there is on the lands, and
you go up there, you've got ready, and you go in, you already hear battle, and they're doing fights already, and they're taking the guy down. You're like, you son of a bitch, that's mine.
Yeah. And customize your school and hire, What do they do? Like take little orphans and then inject them with stuff and only
is that
like
BioShock? What are we talking about?
No,
that's what they do to make a Witcher.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I was like, what did we just leap from Witcher to BioShock? Oh, I gotcha. Okay, yeah, dude, create a Witcher would be great. I think create a Witcher would be the way to go, right? Like that would be awesome. Did you guys like Ciri enough for that you would be interested in her being?
She's overpowered.
That's the problem. I was talking with someone about this, and like the difference is that like Geralt, for all of his stuff, is just a guy that happens to get entirely too wrapped up in shit. Whereas Ciri is like the Luke Skywalker
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
of the world. Like, she is very key and important to a lot of like things that are happening in the Witcher world around that time. And she is very strong and she's cool. And I would definitely play a game with her, but like the magic of Create a Witcher is you're also back to being just a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
She is the chosen one, right?
So what happens then?
You know,
You go. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, because obviously Witch is based on a Polish book series. Is there more lore to plumb from the books, or are CD Projekt Red
Good
writing their own
question.
stuff now?
there
yeah.
probably is, but I think honestly that CD Projekt Red are just like, hey, we got the rights. We're not particularly interested in the rest
The
of your
author
books
hates
right
them.
now.
The author
Mhm.
does not like the games.
Yeah. So like I don't think they're gonna go back and like talk to him and be like, hey, what do you have? I think they're just gonna do whatever they want to do. And
So here's something that I'm reading in chat. Multiple people have said. I said, "What do you want from Witcher 4?" And they all said, or many, combat being better. And I would agree as well. I think
sure.
I liked Witcher 3's combat once they patched it. I think it was second or third patch where they fixed some button prompts. I like Witcher 4 or Witcher 3's combat well enough, but I would love to see it a little bit cleaner. And this is a problem that Witcher's had. Witcher 1 had it and Witcher 2 had it. That combat has never felt as good as I wanted the combat to feel in the Witcher games, even though I like the Witcher games. In particular, not 1, but 2 and 3. 1 was really rough, but I would love to see them fix
after
it.
Bloodborne.
3 came out after Bloodborne?
Yeah,
Man, that's a long time ago.
So it was a huge like,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, so I would like to see that repaired. Asa, are you a Witcher fan?
I am. Yeah, nice stuff for me in that one.
Yeah, no shit. So is your plan then? Is this something that, I mean, you're interested in, like a new Witcher?
Yeah, and they've got it's not the only Witcher project either, is it? So they're doing their weird co-op thing on the side as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
I thought it was just
I think
one
they've
remake.
outsourced it to another studio. So they've got The Witcher 4 come in, they've got a Witcher co-op game, they've got a brand new IP, and they've got a new Cyberpunk game. We're all kind of announced together as they're in the works projects. And yeah, I'm ready to pre-order The Witcher 4 right now. Like, tell me where to get it.
Damn, really? This is the first time I've heard you excited in the
of course
podcast.
not. I'm not going to pre-order anything, but
you got me. I bid in, by the way. I truly bid into that. I thought that was real. I was like, damn. I also think with Witcher 4 that the new engines that they're using is like sort of where I'm excited. When you see what the new engines can do and all the problems they had, they got it working really well. But I'm just really excited to see jumping to all the new technology. Maybe get some better performance. I don't know if you guys remember, but Witcher 3 didn't necessarily have great performance. And so the idea of getting a game that's really solid day one is sort of exciting to me. Because, dude, it is crazy how much a bug can impact the plot or the story delivery. When the guy who's supposed to be a badass is trying to walk in the room and he's stuttering because of Unreal Shader stutter. Or he's like T-posing in Cyberpunk, and you're all, this is no longer as cool as it. I mean, if Darth Vader T-posed on his way in, you'd be like, what the fuck? This is not as cool. Even if you played it again, you'd be like, it doesn't hit as hard. So the games that have less bugs and the games that you can see delivered fluidly, I'm excited for. I would also like to see Witcher 4 handle. So Witcher 3 had a tendency for me to be a little too dire, and I don't know if I want more fun in Witcher. That would sound stupid. I would sound like an idiot. I don't mean fun like riding a merry-go-round, because it had its goofy stuff, but more life. Yeah, there was something.
Did you play the Blood one?
No, see, Abzi has played both. I played a little bit of one of them, Heart of Stone. I don't know what it's called. Heart of Stone
was the darker one. Blood and Wine is probably
More what I'm
It's like a
talking about.
vacation.
More what you're looking for.
I
Like,
see. So I
it's a
just
little bit more whimsical. There's a little bit more fun. It's lighter. The color palette is much brighter in the
oh
region.
well, that sounds like
Um,
exactly. Is that the second of the
yeah,
DLCs?
that's the second one.
Interesting.
And you decorate
So-
a house, and you know,
So he like goes to a different region that's more
The Witcher painting a house.
more like medieval fantasy, like honor and
Okay.
chivalry and stuff. And
yeah.
then it's kind of it's a lighter tale, even though it does involve a vampire. And then it sort of ends Geralt's story. It's sort of like, hey man, back where you're from, everything sucks, everyone hates you, but you're pretty cool. You've done a lot for us. Why don't you
Welcome.
have this
Hang out.
house? Right.
That's cool,
Chill.
man.
You
Dude,
got a
that's
vineyard in
sweet.
your
I didn't know
backyard.
any of this, Mike. I appreciate you explaining that.
Fresh.
That makes me actually want, because I've never wanted to ever return to Witcher.
Oh,
I was
geez.
done with it. So the idea that that's there, that does make me want to try that out. I was not aware of any of that. I've never really asked because, again, I played the other one. It was darker. But you just brought up something amazing, which we haven't talked about, and I can't believe we didn't. You brought up honor, chivalry, medieval, Kingdom Come 2. So
Oh.
I was that game is coming sooner than I think a lot of people think. So with Kingdom Come 2, is either Asa or Mike, are you guys, because Abzi and I have talked about this a little bit, we'll certainly add to it, but either one of you guys, were you surprised that it's coming this year? Did you already know? If you did, that's fine. And is there anything about that game that excites you? Are you interested in? And we'll go with Asa first, since he didn't have much to add for the Assassin's Creed.
I've got very little to add on this one because I've not played Kingdom Come Deliverance.
God!
That's been on my backlist forever. I know.
I need to talk to my booker.
know.
Why'd you book Asa? I'm
Oh.
just joking. Go for it.
You don't have to do stealth in that game, by the way. You don't.
You don't. I've heard the combat takes some getting used to, but it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
a really good game if you bother with it. So I've been meaning to.
Keep talking. I'm letting
And
my
it's usually
dogs out.
like £5 as well. Somebody else keep talking.
No, it's it's a fantastic game. I think you should play before the second one comes out. Mike, have you played it, or are you excited for the second one?
No, but I haven't played it just because it's the same
my
like the
God.
strategy stuff. As it gets closer to actual reality, like
Yeah.
I mentally start to
Damn you,
I
Mike!
I just mentally start to tune out. I'm just like
Oh man.
it's what you were talking about, Karak. Like I can see why people like it,
Mm-hmm.
but like none of that interests me.
You don't like historical games?
Like just straight historic, and it's
Yeah.
like I was saying with the strategy games, like there's workers and resources. That's the game that people in 3 Moves Ahead, like the Discord, are playing, and they're all like into it, and they're super sweaty, and they're like, oh my god, this is just like Soviet Russia. These are the actual like logistical things they had to deal with it, and I'm just like, I do not care.
Yeah.
Let's go do Frostpunk or something. Like,
No, I totally get it though, man. That's what like I was taken about, because I do like fantasy, especially in medieval times. I'm not a huge fan of, I'm not a historical buff or whatever. So that was one of the things that got me to kind of, hesitate on diving in, but I did, and it's fucking amazing, man. It's a really good game.
Yeah. So, Mike, the only thing I can say is the games that you are talking about, these other ones involve like, the upgrade paths and getting better and better. And that's the one thing Kingdom Come does so well, is you start out as just a turd. You're
nothing.
barely able to do anything. By the way, I got killed
Yeah.
like 40 times just walking away from a town. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm getting my ass stomped. You go to fight a guy and he's training you in the sword. And it's one of the very few times that when somebody is better than you in this game, I feel like I can see the betterness. It's not just that they attack faster. It's that the way they're doing it is more complex than you're accustomed to. And that falls apart a little bit at the end. Admittedly, there's a couple moves you have and they have that you find yourself doing more often. But it's one of those games that you get better, and its power curve and the learning that you do in the game, the feeling of becoming a nobody, basically a servant, and then becoming like sort of a squire knight. It feels. That's it. It just feels. You can feel it. It's something that sort of starts to build up. But I get you. I mean, it's definitely it's its own thing, and I I don't know, man. It's an odd game. It worked for me, but I absolutely see, why it might not for you guys. And this is just going to continue a story. So I assume for you guys, it's probably not going to pull you in as, it's not offering anything that's new. I was surprised at I don't know about you, Mike. I don't know if you had heard anything. I hadn't heard much other than I got invited to something prior that I assumed was them just because of looking at companies involved. And I was like, okay, that most likely is this. But I was really stunned at this year's release date. Like that, because we're accustomed to leaks, right? Just constant, this influx of leaks and guesses.
Yeah, but leaks only happen.
By the way, I'm really sorry, but I have to get going.
Oh, right. Okay, no worries.
I'm
Have
so
a good
sorry.
one.
All right, thank you.
Whoa.
Yeah, Oh, he actually. Leaks only really happen above a certain threshold. Like below them, a lot of small companies can just work on stuff
For years, right? Yeah.
Until it's ready, and no one is going to hear about it because it's not even particularly like Hades 2. Just like, hey,
Right.
Hades
Right.
2
Just
is
sort
a
of came
thing,
and went.
and it's in early access. Enjoy. So.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know. I'm just excited for it. I think it'll be cool to see what they offer. And switching engines was what I hoped they would do. And they stated that they weren't because they know the engine. And they just decided to stick with what they knew. And that allowed them to release it earlier than expected, which actually is very cool because, as you guys pointed out, 2024, at least right now, doesn't look super filled out. So let's say it continues to not be super busy. This would be a good title for people that they can dive into without that feeling of FOMO that we all get. I mean, I even get FOMO even about some games I probably won't want to check out. It's just playing a game and you see all these announcements of titles that are coming and going, and it's hard to feel like you can keep up with anything. Speaking of keeping up, let's jump into the the Discord questions. I also asked Twitter to give us some. But the first one somebody asked us is, what do we think about No Man's Sky Adrift Expedition trailer? So I don't know if you guys saw this trailer, but it's a new universe. No alien sentient life, but as in no alien intelligent life. But there are aliens in it. There are creatures in it. And it is a survival version of No Man's Sky. And it's free. Everything else they do. But
they can't keep getting away with it.
It's ridiculous, man. And this is out of the blue. By the way, this is shortchanged a good amount. This is about half the length of time it usually takes them to release an update. So I was quite surprised by the timing because they just did the space station update, which was phenomenal. But so it's a survival one. There's like ghost ships. It's like a darker universe, a darker galaxy. You're still trying to find out stuff, but the entire universe is like covered in static. And you can't talk to anybody else. No multiplayer from what it sounds like. I could be wrong on that part, but I don't think there's any of that. It is fully almost like their version of a survival game. Does this cause you guys to care? Or are you...
Oh, I mean, I love No Man's Sky.
Do you?
Hey, No Man's Sky is great, and I'm ready for Light No Fire?
Light No Fire,
yeah. Or something like that. The fantasy one.
Yeah.
Like I said, they can't keep getting away with it. Just consistently updating this game and adding new awesome shit. I'm probably not going to play this because I'm not that deep into that survival. I mean, I like survival games, like Ark and other stuff like that. But and No Man's Sky with like nobody and just I'm like, I don't know if that's
doesn't appeal to you where it appeals to you in the other ways with you.
Yeah.
What about you, Asa?
I played No Man's Sky the day that it came out, and it didn't feel very nice, so I stopped playing it the day that it came out. I jumped back into it a few years later into VR, after they'd done numerous updates and their UI overhaul and all the rest of it. And it was like massive and intimidating and really difficult to get into, just because the UI is not, for all of their tweaking, it is not user-friendly whatsoever.
Not at all.
And then when you mentioned just then, you said this Adrift trailer, and I was thinking, what No Man's Sky's trailers have I seen recently? And I'd seen the one with the space stations, and the name Adrift could fit that. That could be about space stations. So I was going to say, yeah, I've seen that. But no, the stuff that you just described is completely new to me. So I hadn't seen anything of this survival thing where you go into a different universe and those static and survival elements and all the rest of it. Very strange. definitely not going to draw me back into that game. But Mike's right. They're up to something. There's got to be like some kind of tax write-off going on, or who knows how they're supporting these games for 10 years. They said they're doing it for the next one as well. That's a 10-year game for them as well. Content on content on content. What's going to be the right time to jump in and play it? Is it going to feel terrible on day one? Should I wait until year 9 and then?
Oh yeah, that's for sure a thing, right? I think for me, I mean, obviously, because I follow Sean Murray and I do track the tech of how they're updating. Obviously, the procedure generation harmed them day one, and has now shown that how they're doing it with the super formula, their version of a super formula, allows for them to make iterations quite quickly and broadly and largely in the way they do things, which has helped them create these with even a smaller team. Because remember, not all the team is even working on this anymore. Some have gone to that light no fire or whatever, which also looks quite interesting. And I love the idea, because we've all talked about this in Discords. I'm sure you guys have seen this on Twitter. People saying, what would happen if they took the galaxy and said, screw that, let's simulate one tighter location. And I say tighter, but it's a planet, you know. And no matter how many gamers are gaming, it's not 7 point whatever billion we have on the planet Earth right now. So the idea of all of us being in the same world, that's exciting to me. Except if I get spawned in a shit hovel location. Like, that's the thing I'm worried about. I'm worried about jumping into this game and being in the desert. You know, and your friend, they get spawned in and they're in a nice Pacific Northwest area. They have a lot of trees to chop. It is. It's like, how are we going to handle, like, resources at the starting, or is it just going to be, bro, got to deal with it? There's going to be flyable mounts. There's going to be all kinds of crazy stuff, so I'm sure you can fly. I think it'll be very interesting to fly long distances on a dragon to explore without a hyperspeed. You know, are you going to have dragon speed? Are you going to be able to, like, crank the dragon and be like, all right, let's go super fast so we can travel the Earth quicker? I don't know all of that stuff, but it's exciting to me. The futuristic stuff.
Are you going to be able to fast travel to friends? That's the big question for that one for me. Like, because otherwise you do spawn in different places and it's a very lonely game.
I assume warp gates, right? Magic, maybe.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, and then it suddenly feels a lot smaller, right?
Yeah, so. Dude, exactly. People don't. This happened with Dragon's Dogma. It happens with all the games that offer fast travel. You have to do it right. You have to, if you have fast travel be available to everybody, the world feels smaller, or available easily. Then you have to decide what causes a person to walk versus drive, versus something else. But I'm excited for it. When was the last time you guys played this? No Man's Sky. I played it last week.
I dabbled with it when the PSVR 2 came out.
PSVR 2, and you said a couple months, Mike?
Yeah, it's been a couple months.
So, are you guys, do these not excite you very much, like a space game like that? Is it more like just touch and go? You jump in?
For me, it's time. Like we were talking about the live services. Like, I hit my Fortnite dailies for a while. I was playing Honkai Star Rail.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
Just haven't had time to go back to it. And when I'm not doing my live service daily games, I'll try stuff like Galactica or something. I'll try something new.
That game looks good, by the way. Galactica. I'm glad you mentioned that. Shout out to them, because it reviewed well too, and where I expected. Looks good. What about you, Asa? What stops you from jumping in? Same thing, just time.
Kind of, it's time and purpose, because the game doesn't, well, at least from launch, it never had much purpose besides getting to the center of it or whatever. And I kind of need a little bit more direction or an infinite amount of time. And I've not got either of those with that game. So, yeah,
I get that. For me, I'm super excited for it. I'll jump into it. Anybody in chat, if you guys are jumping in, I'd like to know what you guys think of it when you get a chance. SBZ did a $5 super chat and says, speaking of Gears Tactics, IGN did a study that finds gamers are becoming less interested in strategy games. Thoughts? P.S. I still think we need more Command and Conquer games. So, you guys believe it?
I am not less interested in strategy games, but I definitely do not speak for all of the gamers. And it depends on how you're taking your little survey data, because these kids and their Fortnites probably don't care about Command and Conquer. That is fair.
Yeah, that's fair. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, that's pretty much where I am. I mean, like I said, I'm a not guest, somewhere in between a guest and a host on a strategy game podcast. So I care about strategy games, and I know enough people do because I can see the numbers for episode releases. So yeah, people care. Do the youth and does the average consumer? Probably not. You know, those games have probably always been niche. Uh, like you were talking earlier, like, oh, I want to play games, on the couch on a controller. Strategy is usually not that. Unless you're talking about something like, Fire Emblem or something like that, a tactics game. So yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Not everybody's gonna like everything. And
I
and the youth have the mobile games. So
also, this is the only thing I can speak to any slight expertise. This is what I did prior to this job, looking at survey data, running situations where you pull people, and I can tell you instantly that when you're pulling people via electronic devices, you're going to get a younger crowd. And so the poll itself and the way it looks like it was done sort of skews towards a group. So if I went to a swim meet and said, hey, yo, do you guys like football? I would get an inordinate number of people not liking football. And it's pretty normal that you expect that. These kind of polls, especially surveys, it depends on the game. Griffin Gaming Group is very good. They've done some really good ones. There was the one that GDC that they did about people worried about the future and service games and all that. That was good because it talked to the developers, the ones making the games. But it was the ones making the games at a GDC. You only have that specific focus. I think with this, they're probably right, but also there's less strategy games being delivered to a group that I think they're harder to make on a PC that big and like something somebody wants to buy, where maybe on a mobile they are a little bit easier, but the strategy is less. It just is less because they're delivered in a certain way. So I don't necessarily think it's less. I just think that the people who respond to those queries and polls, I'm not going to lie to you guys. If I get a poll about video games, am I answering it? No. Would I have answered it when I was 18? Yep. There's a certain apathy that it's created as you get older and you see all these games that at some point you just stop answering the same question. I just feel like
quite, depending on who the sample is as well, it's quite a broad question because they could be talking about strategy games and the people answering it could say, yeah, I've not played Clash of Clans for 2 years. So no, I'm less interested than I used to be.
Right.
And that's not the same as the kind of strategy games that Mike is talking about. So it's not
exactly.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and also, if somebody says, hey, man, do you want to play Anno or do you want to play Crusader Kings? I assume there's an inordinate number of people who would want to play Anno over Crusader Kings because that game is known as this dense, insane strategy game. That's, those people, there's a certain people who like that. And I think when you say strategy, like you said, that's really broad. I mean, hey, strategy can be in a fighting game. There's a ton of strategy in a lot of fighting games. Like, what are we exactly talking about? I think Call of Duty and stuff, or not Call of Duty, but not Call of Duty. Sorry. I meant Command and Conquer. Those kind of games also have strategy, but they're considered RTSs. And I think a lot of people don't consider those strategy as much as they consider them an RTS. And I think that's the problem with genres, right? Genres get really messy, man, especially lately. You start talking about a game and somebody drops Dark Souls-like, and you're all, really? And then you look at it and you're all, oh, you know what? It does have a Dark Souls-like. But Dark Souls-like is so general by itself. Like? Well, it's on a digital platform, so it's somewhat like every other game. And then the entire conversation sort of goes amiss. How do you deal with that, Mike? You guys are doing a podcast about strategy games. Let's say I wanted you guys to cover a certain strategy game. Is there a level of strategy that you guys consider light to the point to where it's not really strategy? Or do you consider, or are you guys just like, hey, if it says strategy somewhere, or if it involves resource, we'll talk
yeah, I mean, because like Galactica and some of the other games aren't really strategy games; they're more sim games.
Mm-hmm.
So we still count some of those, and like there is a threshold, but occasionally we'll cover games that are like on the lower end, but generally the people like the hosts and whatnot are on the sweatier side,
Okay.
like want more mechanics, more depth. So that's generally the stuff that gets covered. And there's enough of those that come along that there's always something.
Yeah. Always something
like,
to talk about or cover.
yeah, there's like there's an old world DLC release, so like that'll probably get an episode and different stuff like that. So there probably is a threshold where below would be like, no, that's not really a strategy game per se, but we probably never actually get there because there's always something else to cover.
Right. That makes sense.
So
So in the main genre. And then also Grape Ape says, are there any of you tried the new Gacha games like Wuthering Waves? Now I'm assuming Mike has tried it or will. Is that correct?
I'm so on the edge there because I have the Epic Game Launcher open every night to open Fortnite, and Wuthering Waves is always right there on the EGS store. And yes, I did play Genshin, and I did move from Genshin to Honkai Star Rail. So part of me is like, maybe I will say maybe.
You spend money on them?
No, actually, I don't. All my money is spent on the Fortnite or World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14 subs.
Oh,
So,
Final Fantasy 14.
So yeah, no, I generally play as much as I can without paying for all of those, which usually goes for a good while. And it helps that a lot of the pay is, more gacha pulls or allowing you to keep doing something, whereas I don't have the time for that. So I'm just like, okay, I'm done. Like I finished my daily quests or whatever. I'm done for the day.
So it's like a self-limiting almost, just because of time you don't have to engage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me, personally, no, not going to play it. Genshin Impact's gameplay was actually quite enjoyable. Played a little bit of that, liked it. I am a little perturbed, but I don't want to get into it. But I'm a little perturbed that like that game doesn't get as much shit about micros as I expect, and some games don't. And sometimes I'll look at the game and be like, why is it that everybody focuses on like an Assassin's Creed game when I'm looking at a game like this? And I know people bitched about it. I'm just saying there's so much going on with micros right now and how things are delivered, what you get. But I'm also mad about skins too. So that was one question I had about that game, but I decided to not continue playing it because it just didn't grab me. It was fun gameplay, but the world and the anime stuff is not my. I'm solidly against it. And I think anybody who plays it is. I'm just joking, but I was watching somebody playing Withering Waves or Withering whatever it's called yesterday in our chat, and I saw it amongst 12 streams in Discord. 12 people screaming. And I'm telling you guys, I instantly looked and knew who it was and like what game they were playing. Because it's got that look. I was like, oh, that's for sure this guy who's playing it because I know he likes those games, blah, blah, blah. So there's something really cool about that. They deliver to that gamer, but I'm not, unfortunately, part of that. Or maybe fortunate. And then Goat says, been watching lots of Star Citizen content recently, and they're talking about server meshing, how it's important once it's implemented. Is server meshing a new approach, or has it been around for a while? So I can answer this, and I'm sure Mike probably can, because as MMOs come and go, there's been different people doing different technologies. Server meshing for them, though, is pretty sweet. Basically, from what I understand, is it checks multiple servers, and as you're playing, if there's any instance of issue on your server, it immediately bumps you to another one so you don't get like a disconnect, that kind of stuff. And then also there's something that they're doing that Indio, who's Abbreviated Games, you guys should follow him. He does really short reviews, great coverage of games. He covers a lot of Star Citizen. He talks about it a little bit more in depth in some of his conversations on Twitter, his stuff on YouTube. So I can't speak too much to it. But from what I understand, it's just Chris Roberts' idea of how to do basically Passover between servers whenever there's issues and to keep everything at the lowest latency possible. Mike, do you have anything to add to that when it comes to server meshing? Do you know much about it?
Yeah, I think it's just mesh networking. So
and just
like
really redundancies.
Dynamically, yeah, serving.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't think most other MMOs run Well, a number of them do dynamic server allocation. Just probably not in the same way that Star Citizen is doing it.
Yeah, I think they do the thing where they shuttle people to one, and then if it gets close, they shuttle them to the other one, right?
Right.
Versus this, which is they're running concurrent in some way. Bounce between. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Star Citizen has a lot of tech. I think we can all speak. I mean, Star Citizen is trying a bunch of stuff other than getting the game out.
I was about to say, but when will the game come out?
I played my $50 worth, I'll tell you that much. I enjoyed the hell out of what I played. But I'd like to play the game. You know, like I've done some missions, had a great time. It runs so much better than it used to. Still doesn't run as perfect as you want. But as we get to this part of the podcast, it's time to talk about personal stuff that we enjoy outside of gaming. Well, it can be about gaming too, but I wanted to ask Mike something. So you got some omnibuses there for Batman. So I just got one for Batman. I got one that I think it's all the new 52 Zero episode, Zero
issues.
Thank you. Yeah, all in one. I'm finding with the omnibuses, I'm not using it, though, because I thought I was going to read it, but I found that when I open it, it's really tight in the center because there's so many pages. Do you actually read those, or do you buy them more as I'm a collector, I buy these?
So this is an old picture. I actually have a lot more omnibuses now. No, I don't read them in the physical. Once you get to a certain, like... the one over here, and it's of course shutting me out. It's the Batman Detective comics run by James Tynion IV. It's so big. And I have another one, the Immortal Hulk omnibus is also so thick that it's essentially unreadable.
Right.
As a physical thing. So I buy them mostly to have them just in case. Same with the DVDs, the Ultraman DVDs up there. I actually just purchased the entirety of the original Perry Mason on DVD.
No shit. Awesome.
Even though I'm watching it on Prime Video, just because I want to say, was it Nintendo? I think that when Nintendo closed an eShop, I was digital. All digital and everything. And then I think Nintendo closed the 3DS eShop or one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that would be annoying if I lost all of this stuff. So I just started rebuying games. I have a sizable physical Switch collection at this point. And I'd say a good third of it are games that I already own and played on digital. And those are probably never going to be opened, because I don't necessarily need the physical, but I want to have it there in case a movie goes away. And I bought the Perry Mason, I bought Horatio Hornblower, like the A&E movies, because you can't get those on streaming. So it's just like a lot of stuff that I'm like, I want to have it physically, but for most part, all my comic reading was on Comixology. But now I just buy the issues directly from Amazon each week. And then old stuff I generally read. I have subscriptions to Marvel Unlimited and DC Universe Infinite. So I do a lot of digital reading. And then the physical stuff I buy just because I'm like, I want to have this somewhere around that I can, like, if it goes away on the digital, which a lot of stuff can at any moment.
Yeah.
That I have it.
What about you, Asa? Do you collect anything like that, physical?
Looks like you got some... I'm just in the middle of a cutscene. Joking. I saw the podcast with Addicts a couple of weeks ago. I was amused. So,
you mean Addict when he was playing video games?
While when you buzzed in playing a video game. Yeah.
But do you collect any? Do you collect any physical stuff? I see you got paintings, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've got a couple of displays around. But in terms of that, when you asked Mike about the books, I was relieved because he's got his green screen thing going on, and I'm relieved that it is a picture of his stuff so that he could answer you and say, yeah, this is all mine. I've got this, that, and the other. And not, I've never seen any of that in my life. It's just a random picture. So good job on that one. No, I don't. Not really. I've got a lot of retro consoles and things like that kicking around. I've got a Sega Saturn and a Dreamcast by my
Hell
feet. Lots of
yeah.
old games that I never get around to touching, but not much in the way of comics and things like that. No.
Do you collect? So I collect like oil painting, stuff like that. Do you do any or martial arts stuff? Do you collect any of that kind of stuff? Weapons? You have a bow staff ready if you're
Scouts.
attacked in the middle of the night?
No, I don't. No, so obviously I do my taekwondo a lot. I train a lot. I'm still very into that. So in terms of hobbies, that's my outside of gaming hobby, but it doesn't leave me much to pocket and display behind me. So.
You don't. So my wife got her black belt, which doesn't mean as much because obviously, usually that just means you're starting. Really, she displays it. Got a nice display she got. Do you have yours? Do you have your belts play somewhere, or do you just throw them in the corner?
No, so the belt I've had the black belt for a good 15 years now. I'm trying to wear it through to properly faded and grayed out, so
Yeah.
it doesn't get stowed away anywhere. But I do have the certificates and things framed around
Very cool.
somewhere out of sight.
Very cool. Out of sight. You're the only guy I know. You probably have it in your closet on the wall so that only you can see it because you're like,
Yeah.
I don't need to tout it. I want to be the mystery man in case we're attacked. Yeah. So you don't collect much physical then? Like, I mean,
No, not really.
like, what about music? Anything like that?
Definitely no physical music collection whatsoever.
Damn. Dude, I imagine your house being like my old apartment. People would come in and go, does someone live here? And because my
They're mostly smaller here, though. So we don't have as much space as you in the States. So.
Yeah, where are you? Where do you live?
South of London.
Oh,
In
dude,
the UK, south of London,
I forgot. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so you're paying probably my mortgage for a little tiny 500 square bedroom. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got 2 kids running around as well. So.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, you've
Besides
got
the-
kids.
besides
So
the
you
retro
collect
games and
physical
stuff, that's the space I
representations
have.
of your own DNA. Two children. There you go,
Once I
buddy.
collect them. I've only got the 2, but yeah.
Well, two's a collection. It's more than one. It can be a collection. How old are your how old are your kids? Are they old enough?
Old, 15 and 12.
Are they old enough to do martial arts? Has Dad said, "Let's go kick ass"?
Oh, I couldn't get them to stick with it. Actually, I'm too nice.
Yeah.
Didn't push them hard enough. But
That's, I think, for a lot of parents. Like when they like something, you have to do that weird thing where you're all, it's cool, but you don't need to go. Because a kid, if you try to tell a kid it's really cool, the kid's like, no. You're all, oh, damn! It's hard to get the child to do it. I collect. I definitely collect paintings like Frank Frazetta, Conan, old stuff like that, and a bunch of sci-fi stuff like Flash Gordon. We're always asked like what we collect, and I usually say nothing, and then I go back and look. And I'm
I
like,
just bought. Actually, give me a sec. Give me a sec.
Oh shit! As Mike pulls a baton out, this was bloodied. This is a real. This has been really used. You don't turn on those old consoles though, huh? You don't turn on your Saturn or your Dreamcast or.
not really. No. No. At some point last year, I was playing around with the Saturn and doing a bit of the retro stuff.
The Flash Gordon is downstairs. I just got that as well. But I just got
Oh, there we go.
Rogers,
Buck Rogers. Yep.
omnibus of the first newspaper strips.
Oh, the newspaper. That's straight up old. Bang.
Yeah. No. These are 1929 to 1930. So I just got that, and then the first Flash Gordon set, and then I also bought 50 Doc Savage pulp books.
Yeah.
So I just went on a run at the beginning of 2024, just like what would I like to have that could go away or is not available?
Yeah.
Like the Doc Savage books. I believe the rights are currently held by Condé Nast, who does nothing with them.
Right.
Like the magazine, like they don't print the books, they don't put them on Amazon, they don't. So like I was just like, man, I want to read some Doc Savage. Obviously, it's going to be on Kindle ebook. Let me just go out and buy it. No. So I was just like, okay, well then let's go to eBay and actually get the books.
I think we talked about this the last podcast because Perry Roden, I think I mentioned to you last time, which is the it's like I think it's Russian, but it's their version of Buck Rogers, and I have those translated, and then Buck Rogers, I've got the DVDs. The original, like Gerard, right? That was his name, the actor. Aaron Gray and Gerard, the TV show for Buck Rogers. I've got all that, and then a bunch of sci-fi. But I will tell you guys, since January when I lost power for 11 days, boy, did that change my idea of digital. I cannot describe to you how many things don't work that you think will work, even if you put power into them, but because something else is not there or whatever. And when I came out of that, it changed a lot of how I look at like the physical items, because there were times where I'd want to read something, and I've got PDFs saved on a tablet so I could read, but I read a lot, so I've read them all, and there were so many things I couldn't do. It really sucked, man. It was like a big eye opener towards if something does go away, because I've luckily not been on a Nintendo store that shut down, or there's the occasional game that goes away, but not en masse. So I had forgotten that they did shut down one of their. That's where like the physical media, I probably wouldn't have it sitting somewhere. The idea of having it's nice, because the occasional desire to go back and play a game, not Genesis games, but something on the Xbox or the Play. Even though, let's be honest, half of those are just the CD, right, or the DVD, and you need the internet anyway.
Or you were talking about like disappointing remasters, like the GTA Definitive Editions releases. Those were disappointing, but I have the trilogy on Xbox, which I can actually play on the series. So yeah, I had no problems.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of, like I said, the idea changed. Everything really changed when that happened. It completely ruined everything. What else do we have? Do we have any other news or any other big bits of data or anything like that that's come up? Anything you guys want to talk about? What about your podcasts, your channels? Are you guys doing anything crazy in the next coming weeks? You guys want to pimp something, some guest or coverage of a game?
Nothing crazy. Still doing. So I did the Hellblade 2 review. Put quite a lot of effort into that one.
Yeah.
It's the most recent video that I put up on my channel. I've got the Tuesday and Thursday podcasts and all of those kind of things running as usual, running smoothly. So I don't like to pimp too hard. But if you're interested in more things, more content, then there is some stuff going on over there on the Gaming Arcadia channel.
Gaming Arcadia, and you do it on different days than me. So therefore, you can watch him without stealing my coveted. No, I'm just joking. Or with me not stealing his. Yeah, it's cool that you guys have done that. I know that Knight and a couple other people I'll see jumping on, they're always really positive stuff, which is sort of needed in gaming now. I think it's sort of nice you guys have done that. Do you guys, I mean, you said you were doing streaming too. Are you streaming on that same channel? Is that where I'm seeing your Baldur's Gate stuff when I was jumping onto your Baldur's Gate streams a couple weeks ago?
It was. As of yesterday, I've decided to keep my streaming kind of separate. So I stream on a different YouTube channel, which is just the Acer Games.
Right.
And the only things on there at the moment are the streams I did yesterday that were classic Final Fantasy VII and Warcraft 3. And whenever I just feel like doing things off the cuff, then I'll go over there and do that, so it doesn't clutter things up.
What about you, Mike? Do you guys have anything coming up for the strategy channel and anything there on YouTube?
Yeah, you can find the strategy stuff on 3 Moves Ahead. I'm not always on every episode. Like I said, I'm somewhere in between host and a guest. I come on when I have played the game that they are talking about that week. Otherwise, I'm on Twitter at AutomaticSen, on Blue Sky at MH Williams. And doing my J job. I actually spent the first half of this year relaxing a little bit. Like, I just came into the year and I was like, let's not do a lot of extra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the day job, and then now I'm like, oh, okay, it's time to get back in it. Papa needs a new iPad and needs to get ready for that RTX 5000 series. So,
oh my God. Yeah, this is a new PC today. That was a bitch because I didn't want to spend money because same thing with Asa. We're most likely going to move the podcast to a different channel because of that. The January, February algorithm has destroyed shit if you do a podcast on the same channel. It used to be a builder. And then all of a sudden it started going wonky. And I was just looking at the numbers going, what the hell is going on? And then ended up talking to some people about it. And I was like, yeah, we'll probably switch it. And then Abzy, I don't think can make Fridays, yeah. Because we're we're at like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning because he's in Saudi Arabia. So it's like he's been showing up during, if you wanted to go on a date or if you wanted to do a family night, it was like we were stealing every Friday. And he's been warning me since like December. He's like, dude, I just don't know if I can do every Friday. At some point, his family's going to rebel because he does a podcast in his house. So it's like, you know, his parents have to listen to him cackle and talk about video games till 2 o'clock in the morning. But I would say, yeah, things are definitely changing on YouTube. We're looking at doing some stuff. It's a weird time for game coverage too, because it's a dead time. So normally it's nice to switch when it's busy, because that way you knew the new channel will have content. And like, okay, you know, we can talk about something that'll grab people. But right now it's dead. And so we're trying to figure out, do you switch the podcast? Do you switch days? Do you just drop down to one? Asa, I don't know if you noticed.
Being dead next week, though.
What? Oh, no. Yeah, it won't be dead. I could probably change it. Yeah, I could probably change it and do the events, right?
You're looking for a peak.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just rough because I don't know, man. Like, it's hard. The idea of having another channel to worry about is like, God, that's just what I need, is another algorithm that's feeding a completely different style of content. Do you like doing a different channel for your streams? I mean, do you like the idea of it?
It's more freeing to not worry about what it's going to do to the channel.
Yeah.
Because I'm not in the position that you are, where I really need to worry about the metrics, and I find it quite stressful to even look at the numbers generally. So I try not to. But it's always in the back of your mind, like, is me playing Final Fantasy VII going to absolutely ruin the podcasts that I've been doing? Just in case, I'll move it over there, so it doesn't ruin it for other people as well, besides just myself. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys got to see it. There's a very good video by Comic Historian. Sorry, I always say his name wrong. And he talked about this very thing, where he was like, it's now coming to the point to where the creator is the hard part. Where it used to be like, I'll create, people will show up, and now it's like, oh, the creation, you have to watch out for 12 other things. Like, in no way, shape, or form is it any different than the other creator, including game devs. They have to find a way to get their game and their name out. But it's definitely become more difficult, I would say, for us. And we're starting to definitely see negatives. Such is life. You have to transition. So I was asking people what their favorite intro is, and we'll end on this. So favorite intro to a game. So I've been asking people almost daily and that's good because it's called the daily question, but I've been asking people daily questions, and one of the ones that we got a ton of responses was, I said, what's the best intro for a game ever? It can be a cutscene, dumping you directly into gameplay. It can be audio, text, voiceover, whatever. And why did it hit you? So is there an intro for a game that hit you guys like insanely hard, that just works as the intro for a title? That is a title that when you think about a game intro, you're like, damn, that was a phenomenal starting to it.
I suffer recency bias in the strongest terms. So for me, it's whatever I played yesterday, which happens to be the original Final Fantasy VII. And that has a cracking intro. It is actually genuinely brilliant. I went back, you jump off the train, it's got incredible music playing, and it tells you so much in so little time about the world, because Final Fantasy's got quite a long, convoluted story, but it gives you enough to be interesting straight away. So there's that one for me. And I always think of the demo for BioShock. The original, like the first BioShock, the demo for that game was the first hour of the game, a couple of like tiny minor tweaks, but I consider that like the best demo ever in terms of just how gripping it was. So therefore, the opening of BioShock must have been pretty damn gripping as well when you descend into Rapture and that starts to unfold.
Yeah,
those two.
That nailed it, man. BioShock definitely nailed it. What about you, Mike? Any game that's absolutely just nailed an intro for you?
Probably Marvel Spider-Man. And oddly enough, Death Stranding. Like I had been off of the Kojima train since Metal Gear Solid 2. And Death Stranding like got me back. And I don't know, there was just something about not the very opening of the game, but when it starts to do the credit drops with the Church of Song, and I was just like, okay, all right, I see you, sir. You're giving me a very, very specific vibe, and I'm here for it.
It's funny because, dude, there's so many. Weirdly enough, I actually think the starting of Fallouts, when they say, war never changes, even though it's just a simple line, I've always sort of resonated with that. But for me, definitely, Well, see, the intros, it's so weird because sometimes an intro might be a title, then you go into the thing. And so even when I asked the question, some people were confused of like what exactly I meant by the intro, because somebody else said The Last of Us, starting, where certain things happen. But that's really not the intro. That's like 15 to 25 minutes into the game. And so but I see why they said it was the intro, because it was the first like huge pop that they felt in the game, like that massive moment. But for me, weirdly enough, there's a lot of games I don't like where I liked the starting, or I didn't love the game, but I liked the starting. And it's going to sound off, but I do think that Far Cry 5, when you meet Joseph Seed and the starting and the religious overtones of coming in to arrest him, and the very creepy, very off-kilter vibe you're already getting from the people on your team, and him like spinning all of these religious overtones at you, and you're going in to arrest him, and people are calling you the deputy, and you're trying to figure out exactly what you're doing. There was something about that, because Far Cry games in particular are not great at having the opponent, the nemesis, be doing anything in the game. You guys have noticed that. They'll introduce the jackass, and then he'll be calling you on the phone
and then
half
he'll
the
be
time.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's on the radio, and he's like, ha, 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 ha. And you're all, dude, if you're the bad guy, I need you here to do something. I think 3, was it 4 that let you sit at dinner and into the game? Was that 4 with Pagan Min? I think that was 4.
Yep.
That was phenomenal. Just, dude, ignoring that, a person may not like Far Cry, that was a really awesome way of throwing things on their head. But I just thought Joseph Seed and the way he came out, I remember just watching it, and the religious overtones were really heavy, and the apocalyptic talk was really heavy. And then, weirdly enough, I was streaming through the answers, and that is the prominent answer, even though many people don't like it. And I think that's what's important to me, is a game doesn't have to be amazing to still have a banger intro. In fact, a lot of games have really good intros, and then they fall apart. And I think that one really hit. I do have to ask Mike, though, because you walked into this, man. Death Stranding. Good ending, or good starting. But did you like that game?
I really like that game.
Really?
Did I want to finish that game, like the story of that game? Look, my problem with Kojima is he does the story nonsense, and he's that image. I know writers that use subtlety, and like, he's just not subtle. Like,
Right.
Todd Backstabber, like, Todd is going to backstab, and he's going to backstab because in his genetic memory, all of the backstabbers of the world came together as one, like,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Right.
But delivering stuff, like just walking across getting across the terrain with the packages and figuring that out and the logistics, I love that shit.
Damn. You make me almost want to play it. You do. You guys all do. You guys have not sold me on it, but you'll always make me. Everybody in chat, I want to say how much I appreciate you guys showing up, as always, for the podcast, and big thanks to Mike and Asa for always showing up when I ask. It's a genuine pleasure to have these guys here. They've been friends for a long time. They do good content. You guys should check them out for sure. I'll put their links in the description here. And I just want to say to everybody watching, I hope you're enjoying some game, because there's a lot of titles out, and I hope 2024 treats you pretty well. Just not great, because I want to have a better 2000. So I'll say, I hope it treats you pretty well. Anyway, that'll be it for us. Do you guys have any shout outs or anything that you need to cover before we go? Good?
Only a thank you. Thanks for having us back again.
Yeah, it's always
thanks
fun.
Thanks everyone in chat as well. It's always good to hear.
Yeah, it's always awesome. Peace out, everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of your